Hey everyone, and welcome to 1.21 Gigawatts Movie News. I am Peter, that is Connor, and this is our weekly show where we work our way through the news, talk about films that are in development, look at all the trailers that came out during the week. Well, I say all, the notable trailers that came out in the week. I'm not committing to every single trailer that hit, because people will point out ones we missed, and I reserve the right to turn some away. But, so yeah, we do that. We also have a specific horror section at the end. We usually start with the box office, and we talk about comic book movie news. All these things happen. It tends to be a long show, so buckle in. That's what's going to happen. And at the end of the show, of course, we talk about what movies we watched this week that weren't for review purposes. But sometimes will be none, sometimes will be lots. It just depends on the week we've had. And
it does, yeah. And this week it's a relatively hefty amount, I think, between us.
It's a reasonable amount this week. Typically, for the first 4 episodes, I was doing what came up in the channel this week, what's coming up next week. I'm pushing that to the end. I've made a decision, an executive decision, to put that at the end of the show.
Yeah, it worked out really badly in the TV news, so...
Yeah, but we're getting used to it now. This is basically attempt number 2, so this should go fine. And this one has a bit more of a hard structure because there's more things, there's more sections to it. So with that said, we start off with box office. We look at last weekend's domestic box office, and I make Connor do a bit of guessing. Connor,
I have to be honest. I
Ah.
did see this because there was headlines because it was notable.
Alright, so number 1 was Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. It was number 2 last week. It went back up to number 1. Although, you know you're on a quiet weekend when the number 1 movie is at 10.9 million.
Yeah. Did you see the reason why it was notable?
I don't think it did. Why is it notable?
This is the first movie since Titanic that's been in number 1 in February that released in December.
Huh. That is notable. Admittedly, I think when Titanic did it, it was doing more impressive numbers still than this.
Oh yeah,
does.
but still,
Yeah.
I mean, you'd think something would have done it since then, and if you did, you wouldn't have thought it would be this.
Yeah, this is one of those just really random occurrences, I think.
It is, but I thought
Yeah.
it was notable, and that's why there was headlines, and I happened to see it on my Twitter.
Alright, well, that was 10.9 million. And last week's number 1 is down to number 2, which is Maze Runner The Death Cure with 10.4 million. Number 3 is the only new entry, which is the horror film Winchester at 9.3 million. And that's
That
the
doesn't
thing.
deserve 9.3 million.
Number 4 is The Greatest Showman with 7.6 million. Number 5 is The Post with 5.2 million. Number 6 is Hostiles with 5.1 million. Number 7 is 12 Strong with 4.7 million. Number 8 is Den of Thieves with 4.5 million. Number 9 is The Shape of Water with 4.4 million. Number 10 is Paddington 2 with 3.2 million. When it's that low a weekend, you notice that everything's very close in numbers. There's not a lot of separation.
Yeah.
Because it's worth mentioning, it's only number 1, Jumanji, that is, by about $500,000, which is nothing
Small,
in terms of
yeah.
box office. So
Yeah, the next week or two will be quiet as well, probably until Black Panther. I don't think there's anything before that that'll perk it up massively.
Black Panther is next week, though.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying it's next week in release, but I don't know how that's gonna in terms of when we do the news.
All right, yeah, it's 2 weeks for us doing box office,
Yeah,
sure,
yeah.
but yeah, it's this next week in terms of release. Sure.
Yes, it is, but I was referring to this specifically.
Okay, yeah, there's another weekend of probably quiet numbers, yeah, before we get to Black Panther and that dominating everything, because that's breaking all sorts of. I think first quarter pre-ticket sales, it's broken those records. It's smashed them.
Has it dropped off 100% on Rotten Tomatoes yet? Is the question.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Well, quick glance. Quick glance. Coming to it's a 98 now, which obviously is still very high. But that's that 98% with 89 reviews counted as we record. So yeah, it's doing pretty good.
That's one negative review.
2.
Okay, could have been 1.
It could have, but their rounding system has chosen 2.
All right. Well, no.
No, the rounding system has chosen 98. 2% is what I was
yeah.
referring to.
Yeah, they didn't choose 2 negative reviews.
Yeah.
The 2 negative reviews dictated that they had to choose 98%.
I meant the 2% instead of 1%, but because this happens to be 2 reviews, it
Wrong!
sounded clunky.
That's all that matters. You were wrong!
Someone's speakers just blew out.
I don't know why I almost went into an opera singer there, but I did.
I don't know.
Wrong! Also wrong! I love it.
Please
I love
stop.
Yeah, I'll stop. I'm done, folks. I promise. But yeah, Black Panther's getting a lot of good buzz. The reviews are overwhelmingly. They're saying that this is the first good Marvel villain, and this is the first good Marvel villain. So,
would you like me to read the critics' consensus?
Oh, sure. Yeah,
it's got that already.
Give us a consensus. What's the consensus at the top of Rotten Tomatoes?
It says Black Panther elevates superhero cinema to thrilling new heights while telling one of the MCU's most absorbing stories and introducing some of its most fully realized characters.
Well, shit. I hope I agree with that consensus. I really...
Me too.
I am definitely far more excited than I was before.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm still like, I'll see it. But
I don't know. Coogler's made some good movies, so that was why I had positivity before. Now that I'm hearing all this buzz, it's like, okay, it's probably going to be good. So we'll see. Obviously, that's coming soon. So let's go into news. So that's box office. We can dive into, and obviously we have a comic book section to begin with, comic book movie news, couple of meaty tidbits in here this week. Most notably, that we're still getting this standalone Joker movie, which is outside continuity. Todd Phillips is doing that one, and apparently Joaquin Phoenix has agreed to star in it. It's not official yet; they've not signed documents yet, but apparently he said to the director, "Yeah, I'll do that." I don't know how locked in that makes him, but
yeah, this is strange.
Here's the thing. I have no interest in a Joker standalone movie outside of maybe one or two particular ways of doing it, but I don't necessarily think that's how they're going to actually go about it. However, I do think the casting itself is not bad.
No, I like the casting. Yeah, I just don't like the idea of the movie.
I feel like Joaquin Phoenix probably can do a pretty good Joker. If this ends up being an origin story, then screw you. I do not want a Joker origin of any kind.
Well, they're still calling it an origin story.
They are, but I don't know if that's because the press don't know what to call it.
Yeah, no, it's true. That's what I mean. That's what they were calling. I don't know if that's what it is.
Because that is a terrible idea, but it's not a bad casting choice. The articles are specifically pointing out that this is, Jared Leto's still the Joker in the universe, which is terrible, and that'll especially be annoying if Joaquin Phoenix ends up being fantastic as the Joker, and we're stuck with Jared Leto's stupid tattooed version for the actual main movies.
That does sound annoying.
That could be potentially terrible, but hey. But then again, I don't think Joaquin Phoenix, I don't think he would agree to do this if it was like, you need to be back for more movies in the universe like every couple of years. Like, I think the fact that it's a standalone movie is why he's probably up for it. Because I'll do one wacky movie where I'm going to be crazy as shit, and then
that's it. That's how you lock someone like that in. It's just just one movie.
But I've said it before. The only way I'd want a movie called The Joker, or whatever they're going to end up calling this, Clown Prince of Crime, whatever they're going to call it, would be that it's like a horror movie where he's the villain, and it's just like regular people, like going through the horror story of like him being there.
I agree, but it's not going to be that.
It's not, but I'm saying that is the one way that I would actually accept a Joker standalone movie. Essentially, have a Joker story where Batman's just not there to save the day, and the regular people are just pissing themselves because he's terrifying. That's the movie I would accept, but I doubt that it's going to be that. They're going to do flashbacks, and they're going to do or even not even flashbacks. They may just start with him being normal, and we'll just get a linear story until he becomes him.
They're still calling it an origin movie. An origin implies that we need to know what happened before, and we have to give him a definitive origin for a start.
Unless it's just starting after he's became the Joker, so we don't actually do that. It's like his first. But then again, you need Batman for that, because that's his whole thing, is that he comes out and challenges Batman.
There's no reason that they can't have Batman in this.
Oh, that's true.
But then why is it not just a Batman movie?
Yeah. So, I don't know. Do they go the Azzarello graphic novel route, where our main character is actually like a Joker henchman, and we're just like, Batman does kind of have a cameo here or there, but it is mostly all focused on this guy.
A day in the life.
Yeah, they could do that.
That'd work.
That'd work. That's a good book, so that could work.
That's a very good book, yeah.
But hey, so yeah, Joaquin Phoenix might be the Joker in this weird, out of continuity. I mean, basically an Elseworld, essentially, in the movie sort of world. But it's just weird.
I can't.
Which is not a bad idea. I think it's maybe confusing for general audiences. However, I feel like you should probably get your foundation, your universe in order first before you start experimenting with weird Elseworld stories that don't connect.
That's it. We've been saying for years that they shouldn't be locked into just doing one version. You know, all right, you can have a movie version and a TV version. Audiences aren't too dumb to figure that out. And I feel like the same goes here. The audience will figure it out. You don't need to worry. So they're kind of getting that through their heads. But sort out your main movies before you worry about the extras.
Sticking with DC, Chris McKay, who's directing the Nightwing movie, is giving a bit of an update on it. He's just basically told us that the script is almost done. He's expecting it to be turned in soon, and he's looking forward to getting work on it. So
cool.
I thought that was worth mentioning. And then the other bit of DC movie news that popped up this week is, out of nowhere, The Wrap is reporting that Michael Bay is in consideration for a Lobo movie.
I mean, if you wanted to give me another reason not to care about a Lobo movie.
Yeah, I have no attachment to Lobo whatsoever. I'm not really interested.
I don't think anyone has an attachment to Lobo.
Nah, there's dozens. There's a few dozen of them.
Yeah, alright,
this is the time for that gif from Arrested Development where Tobias is shouting, "There are dozens of us, dozens!"
That's a good gif, I'll give you that.
Yeah. But yeah, so apparently they're saying this could be DC's answer to Deadpool, which of course it is, that's what they want from it. Although I feel like a Harley Quinn movie would also kind of maybe serve as that if they wanted to. But
I agree. Yeah.
But they want, they've got Harley locked in. They're going to do things with her. They've got a lot. Obviously, we've talked before about the projects they've got lined up for maybe having Margot Robbie back as Harley. But no, apparently they're thinking of this. And I mean, it's the sort of thing where we'll probably see it because
we're us.
Yeah, we have to see what the train wreck is. But Michael Bay is not exciting. Lobo is not exciting. So you put them together. I mean, hell, at least it's better than them saying, "Oh, Michael Bay's in consideration for Superman 2." Like, oh no, get away from that.
Yeah. Let's throw him on something we don't give a shit about. Yeah, that's fine.
So sure, if he's not too busy making Transformers 8, then yeah, go for it. So that's the comic book news for the week.
Oh, nice and brisk, nothing from Marvel.
Let's move on. So we have news. We have some
shock.
We have some actual news. So first up, and put the big stuff first. So people behind Game of Thrones, which I do not like. I gave up on that show early in season 2. I found it tedious to get through. I was finding myself watching episodes in like chunks of like 5 because I couldn't get past like 10 minutes without just wanting to fall asleep. So these two guys from that show, David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, have been hired to write a new series of Star Wars movies. Probably a trilogy, maybe bigger than a trilogy. They don't actually specify, but it has to be more than 2. 2's not a series.
Yeah, everyone's been referring to it as a trilogy. I think that's the expectation.
Yeah, it makes the most sense. Star Wars operates in trilogies, so why not? This will be separate from the main saga, which obviously 9's going to end with, or at least, end for now. I assume there's going to be a 10 at some point. And
I feel that's inevitable.
But it feels like they're going to take a break from the numbered main entries for a while. But it's also going to be separate from the trilogy that's already been announced from Rian Johnson. So we've got 2 new trilogies that will probably be alternating. Unless they go to more than one a year, but they'll probably be alternating between years.
I think alternating, yeah.
If anything, they might even be like rotating in 3s with like one trilogy, second trilogy movie, and then a standalone. An
anthology, yeah.
I could see them doing that. So it'd actually take 9 years to go through both trilogies and 3 standalone movies.
That would be better for everyone involved, I think, because for Rian Johnson, he's got time to do stuff in between. For these guys, it's not such a concern because I think they're only writing, right?
Yeah, a lot of directors, yeah.
Yeah, so for Johnson, who's actually got to direct all of his trilogy, he can, he have a bit of time to do other stuff. There's typically a 3-year production cycle. That's a bit better for a movie than rushing it out. Mm-hmm. So I think that would be the smarter choice to go.
I tell you what news story does not cheer me up is when I open my Twitter and see a headline that says, "Hey, at least 3 more Star Wars movies announced."
Hey, that's a headline that makes me wake up in the morning and go, I'm getting more Star Wars.
Nah, it makes me go, oh, sod this, I'm going back to sleep. Maybe I'll wake up and this will all just been a nightmare.
I think the only thing I firmly agree with you on is
Okay.
they should stay one a year.
Okay, yeah.
Like I do not like the idea of more than one a year.
Hell,
Really don't.
ideally, I'd be every other year for me, but whatever. Like, but they're not one a year. They're not going to
You
slow
can
down.
live with one a year.
Yeah, but they definitely. That said, I'll say this. Obviously, we'll talk about Solo later because it's in the trailers. But this, because it actually is coming out in May, which we were doubting before they actually dropped the trailer. I will say this feels super quick. Because Last Jedi was just in December.
It does, because obviously Last Jedi was originally the one that was supposed to be in May. So it was supposed to be Rogue One, then Last Jedi having this feeling, and then that got pushed. But it is strange to be. I just had one of these.
Yeah, so and for someone like me who could use more time between them to kind of forget Star Wars exists and then maybe enjoy it when it comes back, rather than feeling sick of it, that is a bit of an issue. But
I mean, you'll get a full year after this one.
Year and a half. Or no, it was back to May next year.
I think they're assuming again no more delays. It's supposed to be May from here on out.
All right, okay. Because it's twice they've had to delay movies because the first one was meant to be May as well, if I recall. Force Awakens. I think that was meant to be in May originally.
I'm not sure.
And the only reason why I'm saying that is because when they delayed Last Jedi, I remember going, "Oh, they've done that again." So they definitely did it once before.
Fair enough. Maybe it was Rogue One.
Maybe it was Rogue One, but I knew it wasn't the first time they'd done that. Because that's why I came out of Solo going, they're definitely going to push it, because they've pushed every other one. They keep trying to put it to May, but they keep not being able to.
I get why they're insistent on May, because that's the month. But December's been doing really well for them. I don't understand. Why not just keep December?
And here's the other thing. They've usually got a big Marvel movie going out in May.
It's kind of baffling, isn't it? It doesn't make any sense to have these movies in May, but sure, hey, whatever.
Yeah, go on.
The only time it really matters is this one, where it's so close to the last one.
Now, obviously, they don't actually tell us anything about what these movies may or may not be, other than the fact that they're definitely not part of the main saga, and they're definitely not part of Rian Johnson's trilogy. My hope, now admittedly, as much as I say I don't like Game of Thrones, that doesn't necessarily mean that a good director couldn't come in and take one of their scripts and turn it into gold. That's possible. Who knows what they'll do? Especially when, okay, they're working with a property this time still, but it's not based exactly on a book. Whereas Game of Thrones, they're adapting actual material.
We assume. Yeah.
For the most part, yeah. Is this one of your fanboy hopes that they're adapting one of their novels?
No, not directly. I just mean in the sense that Force Awakens and Last Jedi, large beats and characters are taken from the EU, just with names changed and stuff. So I mean, they might say it's a completely original.
Yeah,
but
my hope. I mean, this is for both the trilogies, right? This is for Rian Johnson's as well. But my hope for both is that they are just completely different. They're in the Star Wars universe, but they're not relying on the same old stuff that they've still been kind of shoving down our throats for, all the movies since we've came back. And I include Force Awakens in that, and I like that movie. But they've all been about nostalgia. They've all been about, remember all these things you like. Yeah. Do something different.
I agree with that. I want different time periods. I want an Old Republic. Give me an Old Republic from these guys. Sure. Rian Johnson can do whatever the hell he wants. I'll watch it. I don't really care. but something new would be nice. Just something just disconnected, different.
But that's all on that. We'll have more Star Wars talk when we get to Solo.
And I'm sure we will.
Why, do you not want to talk about it?
Maybe not with you.
Alright, moving on. So we got some Disney streaming service news. Now, I actually talked a little bit about this in the TV news, mainly because there was news about this in both news shows, and I was struggling to remember which one was which, and I was thinking of details of this one when I was talking about the TV news. So it ended up using some of this in that one anyway, so bear with me. But the plans for it are starting to sort of fall a bit more into place. We don't have a name for it yet. We know it's going to be branded with Disney to some extent. But here's some. So they're not talking about what they're going to do with the Fox stuff. You'd imagine that'll be included in it if the sale and the deal and the merger all goes through as planned. But they're not talking about it now, just in case it doesn't. They're focusing on it.
There was stuff this week saying it might not, right?
There was, and I'll bring that up at the end of this story. Because there's not a lot of details on it. There's just basically one sentence to suggest something. But so we basically have them saying roughly what sort of content is going to be on it. They're saying there will be no R-rated content. That includes the movies. But what they are saying is that the R-rated stuff will go to Hulu, which is interesting, because if they're pulling all their movies from other services, and that's including the R-rated movies, you'd imagine, does that mean that they're all going to Hulu? Because keep in mind, if this deal with Fox goes through, they own the majority of Hulu as well. So it's also essentially theirs.
That's the thing. As much as we just said there that, okay, this is not including Fox properties because they're not thinking about that, or they're saying they're not. They're saying, oh, this stuff's going to Hulu. They are thinking about that.
Well, yeah, but they've got their own R-rated stuff as well.
Oh, they do. No, but what I mean is they're thinking about Hulu in the context of that's going to be mostly ours. That's why they're choosing that, presumably.
Oh, sure, yeah. But like, you know, they have their own non-Disney branded movies that are R-rated.
Oh, of course, yeah.
They have like a bunch of that stuff. So, like, does that mean all their R-rated movies? And then if Fox is including this, then you know that's where the Alien and Predator movies and stuff like that are going to go. Die Hard's going to go to like Hulu. Like that's where all those movies are going to go. And then obviously TV shows as well are included in this, where nothing's going to be R-rated on that. And they specifically mentioned that the Marvel series will stay where they are. That's the plan for the foreseeable future, because that's where they belong, and they're all kind of, you know, above PG-13, so they're not going to go onto their service. Which bizarrely makes it like a weirder proposition to me.
Yeah.
Where it's going to feel like, as much as it's a natural split in a lot of ways, it is a bit. It's very definitely less appealing to me, because like I'm not super into Star Wars, as we've previously established, and then I don't really care about Disney properties. You know, like Disney animated stuff and whatnot. Like I mean, there's a few things I like, but it's not something that I have to have or care about original series being created in that context. You know, so.
I mean, I think what's interesting in terms of the movies. Okay, so how much of their movie catalog? Let's assume that you were gonna pay for this, right?
Mm-hmm.
How much of their movie catalog that's R-rated would you go? Okay, well, I'm not getting that. So and all these things. So I'm not going to pay for this service now. Is there that much, excluding anything from Fox that might include, but just Disney?
I don't really take movies into account when it comes to what streaming services I get.
Okay.
You know, because like I'm thinking Buena Vista movies, I think that includes like Unbreakable, say, but you know I've got the Blu-ray, I don't really care.
Yeah.
Where that is streaming wise. For me, it's more about the TV shows when it comes to what services I want, and okay, so they'll have a Star Wars show and whatnot, but to me, all the juicy stuff is because I feel like the majority of TV I watch now is probably the mature stuff that, you know, especially in terms of streaming services and cable. It's all stuff that would probably go on those services rather than the non-R rated place.
Yeah, the only hope is if they could step up and do things like, you know, stuff that we used to get on networks that we don't really see at the minute. Chuck, Fringe. Those sorts of shows that would definitely be applicable for this Disney service. But we're not seeing a lot of them at the minute, or not ones that are interesting anyway.
However, this is the thing that was in the TV news, is that Iger was saying, oh, because we've got Marvel and Star Wars and these other brands that are well known, we're not going to make a lot of new things. We don't see the point. We're going to make less things, less often, and it'll be enough to carry it because of the name recognition. Which again, for me, is like, well, nah. Part of the fun for me with these other streaming services is all the new shit they get to put on there and like, all the fancy different ideas. To me, this is Disney digging deeper into the hole, which is working for them. Don't get me wrong; they're making boatloads of money. But for me, this is them digging them into a hole away from me where I don't care. Where I'm like, yeah, I'm not really that interested in all this stuff.
It's a hole that gives me more Star Wars, so I'm going to pay them.
Worth mentioning, in the first year, the plan is to generate 4 to 5 original movies. I think I said 5 or 6 when I was in the news video, because I wasn't looking at this at the time. I was just sort of remembering. So the plan is to generate 4 to 5 original films and 5 TV series for the streaming service in the first year. There's a bit more. The latter, the TV shows, will cost between 25 to 35 million for 10 episodes. However, an exceptionally ambitious series might have a budget cap of 100 million for 10 episodes. So that basically, to me, says Star Wars will be 100 million, and then all the other shows will be about 25 to 35 million.
That's still a pretty good budget, though, for 10 episodes.
It's
not bad.
The lower amount, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean it's fine. Like it's not bad. But we're agreeing that Star Wars is a $100 million show,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah, there's no way that's not the expensive one. No way.
That's the one that does the draw. I think honestly, the movies are a more interesting concept for me in the sense that okay, I know what to expect from the TV shows. Maybe not in exactly what they're going to be, but it's going to be a Marvel show. It's going to be a Star Wars show. The movies, what are they going to make for this that they're going? No, this is for the service, not to go in the theaters.
Yeah, that is interesting because it does sound like they're setting up their own like production house that are going to make things just for this.
Yeah.
Honestly,
they're going to be lower budget, obviously.
My cynical first thought would be, you know how they used to always do those like really like they'd have their big like Bambi would be a big hit. So then in the 90s,
Bambi 2, Bambi 3.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they did like direct-to-video sequels. I feel like this might replace the direct-to-video market.
Yeah, it could do. Yeah,
that'll be essentially what that does.
that's true. I don't think that's been doing a lot in a while.
No, but that does mean that the movies won't necessarily be that exciting. But then, because who knows?
They'll be exciting to a subset of people, but
maybe the opportunity would be to like do like a lower budget like Marvel movie where, so like maybe I don't know, Moon Knight gets a movie, but it's on the service and it's low budget.
that's the thing. I'm going. Okay, do you do a lower budget Star Wars movie? Like, because because they keep talking about these brands as carrying the service.
Maybe.
Do they do that? Like, does it? Because I think like one of the anthology movies you could do on here. You could get interesting with your anthologies and do something on this service, have a different feel to it.
You could, but I don't know. It is interesting.
That's the thing. I have no idea what to expect from the movies.
What would these 4 or 5 movies be? I don't actually know. So,
yeah.
But hey, so that is that. So we'll move on. So Netflix are making a trend of buying movies from people because they have now bought another sci-fi movie even, called Extinction. This time it's from Universal. Universal pulled it off its schedule 2 months ago, and you wonder, like, did it get pulled off because they just wanted to pull it off for X reason, or did they already start negotiating with Netflix and that's why...
Yeah, it could be.
That's why they pulled it, because they knew that was a possibility. Anyway, so Netflix plans to release it sometime this year. The film stars Michael Pena and Lizzie Kaplan as husband and wife. His character has a recurring nightmare of losing his family, and that bad dream becomes a reality when the planet is invaded by a force bent on destruction. Fighting for their lives, he comes to realise that an unknown strength to keep his family safe from harm. So... that synopsis sounds fine. It's definitely something that'll be worth checking out, I imagine. It's called Extinction, for the record. I think this is interesting. I think this is an interesting trend where we've already seen this happen a few times now this year, where Netflix are going, hey, see that movie that's not super high budget that you made? We'll buy that off you. You know?
Yeah. My concern, as I said in the Facebook group when this news broke, and this, again, bear in mind, I am a cynical bastard, is that sometimes these movies are pulled for a reason. Not always. I admit, sometimes these movies, they're good movies. They shouldn't have been shelved. They just weren't going to make the money that they wanted at the theaters. But I do feel like some of this is going to end up of kind of Netflix picking up the leftovers.
That is just pure cynicism. I can't...
No, that's fair.
There's no reason to suspect that's why. Look at like Annihilation, which they picked up for international audiences. That is purely a movie that is just too, it's not dumb enough for mainstream. And I'm not saying that the mainstream audience won't. I mean, even though I'm pretty sure it wouldn't do that well with mainstream audiences, that is their thinking from a studio perspective. That is a case where we're getting a better movie through this method.
That one I agree with. Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't think there's a basis to suspect that this is just a trend of, they're getting leftovers.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm just, like I said, I did preface this by saying I'm cynical.
Honestly, I'm glad Netflix are doing this. This is better. Them buying these lower budget movies and filling that niche where, like, movie theaters can't sustain movies anymore. They're either, like, low budget movies that are cheap enough to get out, so it doesn't really matter if they don't make that much money, or it's the big AAA tentpole 150 million plus movies. They don't really seem to sustain mid-range budgets anymore. So you know what? I am thrilled that Netflix and places like Amazon are either making their own or they're taking them off the studio hands. And this might even inspire studios to keep making them because they can sell them to things like Netflix and Amazon.
Yeah, they might well. Yeah.
I see nothing but good news here.
No, fair enough.
Even if the movie's terrible, the movie might be absolute garbage, but even if it is, I still think this is good news.
Alright.
Alright, so moving on, we have a small update for the Fast and the Furious spin-off, which is going to have The Rock and Jason Statham in it, because they were in the last couple of movies, and they're going to split it off and go on their own wacky adventures together. They've got a director, David Leitch, or may have found its director. They've in the talks for the job is David Leitch, who directed the first John Wick and Deadpool 2. And obviously Deadpool 2,
can't judge yet, but I like John Wick.
Yeah, so he's in talks to take it on. Apparently the plots went through a lot of changes. Like at one point, Charlize Theron's villain from the last movie was maybe going to be the antagonist, and then apparently that's been scrapped, and now there's going to be something else. But the core of it has always been that these two, who don't like each other very much, are going to team up.
Okay. I'll be honest, I don't give a shit about this franchise or this movie.
I don't really care. I've seen the last few, and they're okay for what they are. And I do like The Rock. I do like Jason Statham, so you know, maybe amusing. I am fascinated by what they're going to end up calling it, but
No, that's a good question. The franchise itself has had a history of troubled naming.
Oh God. Weird ass names. Alright, so speaking of The Rock, Sony, after having Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle hit over 800 million. So it's about 860 million at the time of recording.
And still going.
Yeah. They've got writers already penning the script for the next movie. They're expected to have all the main cast back, as well as the director. And there's been no description, there's no title, there's no, date or anything. They're just saying, it's happening, we're doing it. Because this is the first film not called Spider-Man that's been a success for them in a long-ass time.
This is something I saw earlier in the week, and it is the least surprising news story I've seen in about a month.
Yeah.
Of course he's getting a sequel. Why wouldn't they?
Fascinating how well that's doing. Fascinating.
Shocking, yeah.
Still speaking of The Rock, nice little double segue with this one. So Universal Pictures and Legendary have won a bidding war for Red Notice, an original action film with tentpole potential, as this article puts it.
Tentpole potential.
Yeah.
That's
directed by Rossen Thurber, who actually is the one directing Skyscraper, which we'll be talking about in the trailers, also with The Rock. But it's going to be The Rock. It is a globe-trotting heist thriller designed to be a two-hander for Dwayne The Rock Johnson and someone else who's not going to, who's not been cast yet. He's, the partner was someone they'll actually cast for later, whereas this was built as a package.
This is The Rock's vehicle.
Yeah. This is him, and someone's going to be in the little buggy, the little sidecar.
I honestly feel about 80% of his movies now are just like this is a Rock movie.
He is a star. He's actually became. It took a while to make him a star. Fast 5 was kind of the big thing that first did it, and then since then he's had a few other big hits.
I mean, I think Jumanji especially proves that he's actually one of the most bankable stars right now.
Yeah. So hey,
if Skyscraper does well, that's it. He's doing anything he wants for the next decade.
San Andreas did well enough to get a sequel. That's on its way.
So they say. I mean, it's been a while since we heard anything about that, but
like you keep track and remember when they talk about San Andreas too.
No, this is a funny thing because about a month ago I was talking to someone about it and going, "Oh yeah, there's a San Andreas sequel," and they went, "Is there?" And I was like, "No, well there was. So I don't know if there still is." And I went and checked to see what the latest update was, and like the last update was like a year ago, and it was like, we're working on a script."
I don't know. It's probably The Rock's schedule more than anything else. It's slowing things down. But hey, so that's the whole thing. Next up, Action Man, which is the UK's answer to G.I. Joe, is getting a movie.
Better than G.I. Joe.
I have zero opinion. I think they both look bland and generic. I want no part of either. Born Soldier Man.
I had many Action Mans. My favourite was the scuba one with the shark.
I don't understand the appeal at all. I never got it. But yeah, it's Hasbro. They're making a movie. James Bobbin's set to direct it. Yeah, the writer of Paddington 2, of all things, will be writing the script. That's Simon Farnaby. Yeah, that's it. There's no. I mean, there is no plot to adapt because it's a toy. So
yeah. I mean, there's a comic recently that was very good. That took Action Man as kind of like a title.
He looks so generic. I mean, obviously the movie could be great because they might come up with some great story because the story doesn't exist. But like, I don't know.
Look, I'm in. Action Man was a large part of my childhood.
That explains a lot.
This is going to hit those nostalgias.
I was into proper things as a kid, like Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers.
Hey, I was into all of those things too, but I had Action Men as well.
Aye, and they were bland by comparison.
He had a shark.
Moving on. So, are you familiar with the V series?
No.
V. So. The alien invasion kind of plot.
Oh, that's a series?
Yeah, it was always a series.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever watched any of them.
The first miniseries was in 1983. It was successful enough that it got a second miniseries, and then it got a one season of a TV show, which was like a full, I think it was 19 episodes, it says here. Then it had a reboot TV show in 2009, which didn't do super well. It had some good cast members in it, but it was mediocre. And I never got past the first few episodes, and then it got cancelled. So, in fact, I may got season 2. I vaguely remember seeing a season 2 on the on a website with the DVD covers. I think there was 2.
Yeah.
So maybe there was a second season, but it didn't last long. Is my point.
Yeah.
But apparently, Desilu Studios Incorporated has announced this week that they're actually going to work on a big budget film, which they're hoping will turn into a trilogy of V movies. The original creator Kenneth Johnson is attached to write and direct, which is actually quite big. Like, I feel like that's the weirdest part for me. I'm not surprised they're bringing this back and wanting to make a big movie out of it, because it's a name, people recognise it. But the fact that the original creator from 1983 is like, no, I'm going to do this. This is my baby. I'm doing my big budget movie of this.
I feel like that's something I see a lot of lately.
Yeah.
Going back to the roots and getting the originals involved. They're like going, we'll hit back on that nostalgia big time and be authentic with it by getting the same people involved.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with V, it's a race of reptilian alien creatures known as the Visitors, hence where the V comes from, basically come to Earth, and their intent and what to do as aliens is, or what their intent is, like the big thing. Like, do they want to like rule us? Do they want to take us over? Are they friendly? And yeah, that's kind of the whole thing. So it's kind of like an alien invasion plot, but it's a little bit more sort of suspicious thriller than it is, aliens just coming out and blasting things.
I mean, that's what it was. It's a blockbuster now.
I still think it'll start that way. Obviously, I expect blasting things by the end.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's not V, it's just Independence Day.
This might be what that is, essentially. It's just, well, the last one didn't do too great. We want to do another one, so let's just give it a different name.
The original creator, though, I feel like he'll want to keep the essence of what the whole point of it is.
Yeah, that's true. Depends on the studio interference.
Next... It's not exactly that big a studio. Why would they interfere? Why would they get him to do it if they're intended in interfering?
I assume the worst in any movie studio, big or small.
Next up, we got a movie called Steel Soldiers that Robert Zemeckis is producing. It's a sci-fi action movie. STX Entertainment and China's Alibaba Pictures are co-producing it. So Alibaba will distribute it in Greater China. STX will do it pretty much everywhere else. Steel Soldiers is aimed at immersing audiences into a futuristic world where humans and androids fight shoulder to shoulder. The film will follow a disgraced special forces officer being forced to train a new team of high-tech but imperfect android soldiers, turn them into elite military officers, and lead them into a deadly mission to rescue the robot's creator.
Up until that end point, I felt like it sounded really generic.
Yeah, I agree. The last part about them rescuing their own creator kind of implies to me the movie may actually have a bit of a heart where they learn kind of like they want to save their creator.
Yeah,
I can see that. I can see it actually end up being quite good, potentially.
Yeah, but for most of that, I was like, it sounds very generic. Not bad, just generic.
I don't have a lot to go on really to say what the quality will be like because I mean Zemeckis is producing, but
yeah, That doesn't
who's
mean
writing,
much.
who's directing, but I see potentially. I see a good robot like with heart story at the center of that potentially.
Yeah, I'm always a fan of those.
If they want to go down that route. Next up, James Mangold has set his next film. Of course, he did Logan last. He is going to do something that, at least for me, is much less interesting. It's based on a true story. There's no title yet, but it's based on a true story of Ford and Ferrari kind of competing. Because Ferrari had forever had the fastest car imaginable, the fastest race car, and Ford wanted to beat them. So this is all, it all sort of builds up in 1966, and it's then like Ford being like Henry Ford II being like, hey, beat them, you bastards.
I'm familiar with this story. I love the sound of this movie. I'm big on my car history. It
may be fine, but
those things hit me good.
The subject itself is meaninless to me.
But those things hit me good. Those rivalries. There's some classic rally rivalries that go on. Man.
I could see it being good. Like I just like the subject itself is not what interests me. If it's a well-made movie by a good director, then I'll check it out. But
yeah, and he is a good director.
Yeah. Next up, Saga Film, Iceland's leading production company. Yeah, Iceland. Is joining forces with Lisa G. Black's banner Garnet Girl to produce Afterlands is the title of it. It's based on an acclaimed novel by Stephen Hayton, and it's about a failed 1871 USS Polaris. Thank you. I can't speak. You can tell it's getting late when I'm starting to struggle with words.
I don't know. I feel like you just struggle with words randomly at all points of the day.
R's and L's together are sometimes my kryptonite. I'm not gonna lie. I struggle.
I think it's something to do with their accent.
Polaris. That one's not too bad. It's the one I always go back to sort of show that I can't say some words is literally. I can't do it. I just can't do it. It's impossible. But yeah, so yeah, the 1871 USS Polaris expedition to the North Pole. So it's based on a true story, but it sounds like it's a fun adventure kind of thing. It's going to have Johan Kunk in it, the star of Ruben Östlund's Force Majeure. Don't know it, but it also has Sebastian Hulk, who apparently was in Dark. So I don't know who that was in Dark, but we'll recognise them.
Yes, we saw them.
Also, his last name is Hulk, which is fantastic.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. Frederick Lau from Victoria, apparently, has also been cast in it. The film will centre on Roland Kruger, an idealistic German seaman who, along with 15 men, women and children of different national and ethnic backgrounds, are cast adrift on an ice floe after being separated from their ship. This is almost starting to sound like the Hitchcock movie Lifeboat, but they're just on like a slab of ice.
Yeah.
Instead, as days turn into weeks and rations run low, the crew splinters into factions and along national and ethnic lines. I like the sound of this. This sounds to me like a good little. They're all in one location. It's a survival movie, but it's going to examine how society kind of breaks down in this little microcosm. It's kind of that movie to me.
No, I think it sounds pretty good.
But yeah, the novel was first published in 2005 and has had a lot of praise. Won awards.
It sounds good. I'm down.
Yeah, no, sounds interesting. I thought it was going to be an Icelandic film at first, but then they mentioned it's a German and then there's a lot of different nationalities. So I think the safe bet is that it will probably be in English because it'll be all these, it's just kind of the catch-all.
It is the easy option, isn't it?
Yeah, so that'd be my guess. But that takes us on to trailers. Now, it was the Super Bowl this week, so there was Super Bowl spots. We're not going to talk about all the Super Bowl spots, particularly for films that already had trailers, and it was only like a 30-second, 40-second thing, with the exception of one, which won't necessarily be about the spot itself, but kind of the meaning behind it. So, before we get to the trailers we're actually going to talk about, because a lot of the spots were kind of teasers for trailers we got the next day, or whatever. So, obviously, we'll talk about those. So just to mention ones that we're not going to talk about, Avengers Infinity War had a small spot. It was fine. It was, people gearing up. The one thing I'll say is that I kind of like that they're really kind of making use of the main theme and making it feel like a big deal. That it's in all the trailers and it's, this is the Avengers theme.
The one from the first movie?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. There was hints of it in the second movie as well, but Danny Elfman...
It's mostly gone in that movie.
Yeah. Whereas now, they've got a lot of slow versions of it in both the first trailer and this TV spot, so... TV spot for Quiet Place, which still looks fantastic. Not much to say about it. There was a TV spot for Red Sparrow, which I did not even watch because I'm like, I've seen like 2 trailers at this point. I don't need to.
You're gonna watch the movie, or you're not at this point, aren't you?
Cloverfield Paradox though is worth mentioning. Not because the teaser itself, it was a couple of quick shots, so it wasn't a big deal. But of course, on this very show last week, we were talking about, there's rumours that they're going to announce that they've bought it. Netflix are going to announce that they've bought it with a Super Bowl spot and give a date. And it'll probably be earlier than what the theatrical release was going to be.
Which was mid-April.
Of course, what we did not suspect was that it would launch and then say, tonight. They launched it tonight. This is weird. We have already reviewed it. Me and Matt watched it and reviewed it. The review's already up. You can go check it out. But obviously the big thing here is the fact that they shadow dropped a movie, which, if you're not familiar with that term, and you might not be, if you're just someone who is here because you like movies and stuff, you may not be familiar with the term shadow drop because it's basically a video game term. It's something that they like to do at like E3, which is the big video games conference every June. Is they'll be on stage, they'll be like showing off the new games and the new things that are coming soon, and every so often they'll either shadow drop a small game or a demo for a bigger game, and what that means is that it's available tonight or now. And you can go play that right now. That's what this was. That was Netflix saying, hey, tonight, new movie. And not only is it like tonight, it's a movie that has a name that you recognise. It's part of a franchise.
This is hands down the best piece of marketing Netflix has done for any movie.
Yeah, although it is amusing that it's actually, at the same time, a bigger extension of what we always complain about, that they announce a movie about 3 weeks before it comes out.
It is, but this was different. Whereas that's a problem.
Oh, it is. No, it absolutely
don't advertise. Whereas this is they advertised it on the biggest national stage they could.
Oh, they did. I'm not criticising it. I'm just saying. I'm amused at the fact that it's kind of an extension of what they already do, which is kind of the wrong thing.
Yeah. Did you see the reports of how much they paid for it?
The movie or the spot?
The movie.
50 million.
Yeah, I thought that's an interesting price for Netflix.
It makes sense to me. If you think about what it was probably going to make.
Yeah. No, because it's got to be enough for the...
Yeah, your tablet's speaking to me.
Scared the shit out of me, sorry, that's all. It's going to be enough that the studio will be like, yeah, okay, that'll cover what we want. But it's a higher number than I expected from Netflix, I'll be honest.
But this is the thing, though. Typically, they lease films out for a year to rent, which is different than buying it outright forever, which is what they've done with this. This is theirs now. This is a Netflix original movie, as far as their branding's concerned. So that's big. All I'll say is that I think announcing that the new Cloverfield movie's out tonight, before, we didn't even know the title, because we were calling it God Particle or Cloverfield Station last week. The Cloverfield Paradox.
There's never a suggested title, no. At least not one that I saw.
No. So, it is the most Cloverfield thing ever to announce it that way. It actually really is, because 10 Cloverfield Lane was announced like 2 months before it came out, which is already really short. I mean, now with Netflix doing it even shorter than that, maybe it wouldn't feel that big a deal, but at the time it felt like a big deal. Yeah. And Cloverfield, the first one, of course, had a lot of mystery surrounding what it was actually about. It never
had a lot of marketing, though, comparatively.
It had a lot of marketing, but it was intentionally concealing what the actual movie was.
Yes.
So the whole point I'm making, though, is that they play games with how they market these movies, and it's never conventional. No. So no, it's the most Cloverfield thing ever. As for the movie itself, go check out me and Matt's review and see what we thought. But still, fascinating, and it was an exciting moment. It was like when I saw that pop up on Twitter. Oh, tonight! Oh.
Yeah, it's crazy, because regardless of how anyone feels about the movie, it's undeniable that people were excited. Like, that captured more than any other trailer.
I would love to know.
Captured the mood.
I would love to know how many people watched it that night.
I feel like Netflix might tell us that at some point. That's one of those end of year figures that they give us. And again, we to go back to the E3 comparison there. We often with E3 we talk about who won, like which company did best. If we're going to say who won the Super Bowl trailers, they did.
Oh, they did. Everyone was talking about it.
Yeah.
I mean, people were talking about all trailers, sure, but like
that was nowhere near to the extent. That was the mood.
That was the notable thing to talk about, was the fact that they shadow dropped a movie, regardless of what the movie was. Here's the thing, though: they've set precedent. next year, I'm expecting it again.
Yep. But it can't be Cloverfield again next year.
Oh no, it probably won't be. It'll be something else maybe. Yeah. But
I did see as well that I think it was Abrams was actually talking in an interview saying that that this doesn't rule out the fourth Cloverfield movie from being a theatrical release. That's still the current plan. Will be whenever that happens.
And the fifth.
And the fifth, of course.
Which I don't have in the news because it was fairly loosey goosey as far as the news story goes. But there was like, oh, maybe this other bad robot produced movie, maybe Cloverfield 5, and you know what? Probably is. Why not?
At this point, any time that there's a bad robot movie, you could probably go, yeah, that could be one.
Yeah, stars Daisy Ridley, so Connor's going to have to catch up because he's only way to watch it now.
That's the problem. I'm torn. I'm like, please don't let this be one. I want to watch this movie.
10 Cloverfield Lane was fantastic, so don't stop dilly-dallying and get watching it.
There's negative associations with Cloverfield in my head because I really didn't like the first one. So now I just look at it and go, I don't want to watch you. I've got the Blu-ray. Literally, I'm touching it now. It's next to me. It's on the desk because I feel like every time I go, oh, maybe I should watch that, and then I go, nah. It's too firmly embedded in my brain.
Well, I get to shit on something you like then, because the first trailer we're going to talk about is Solo, a Star Wars story.
Yes it is.
The most unnecessary film in the history of filmmaking.
And I have some stipulations for this conversation.
You don't get to stipulate this conversation.
No. We can have a section where you complain about the movie in general, because I know we've done that before in private, but I haven't done it on this show. But for the first part, let's discuss just what's in the trailer and what they're showing us. Not what you're worried about, not the speculation, just what they're showing us.
I mean, that's the thing, though. It kind of ties into a lot of my speculation. I don't understand how I'm supposed to separate it when I feel like it's doing the exact same, like, oh, I bet this is the Kessel Run, what I'm seeing right now, or I bet this is that. And, and my big worry is, like, I don't really want to see anyone but Harrison Ford play Han Solo, and as soon as he starts talking, I'm like, yeah, it kind of feels like...
And you call me cynical.
You're cynical, though. You're cynical as shit, except for some reason, when it comes to something named Star Wars, all of a sudden these rose-tinted glasses come on, and you're like, oh, Star Wars, bathe me in it.
I'm willing to accept this. This is probably, almost certainly going to be an unnecessary movie, and maybe a bad movie. Maybe. However, just seeing a shot of the Millennium Falcon flying and then going, oh, I bet that's the Kessel Run. That's cynical. That's bullshit. There's nothing wrong with that shot in the trailer except you projecting on.
There's nothing wrong with the shots of the Falcon. I will happily accept that. The visual style is generally pretty solid.
Yeah, it's the cinematographer from Arrival, so it should look good.
That's it. This is going back to what I said earlier about feeling like, oh, another Star Wars movie, like so soon after the last one, where I saw a couple of like the hovercrafts and like the Falcon, and I'm like, oh, more Star Wars stuff. Like, I actually have that kind of feeling where I just don't want to see it right now. I will say there was a couple of cool suit designs. There was one cool kind of looking robot I kind of liked. Yeah. I'll give it that.
I think it's a well put together trailer. It's got style. It's got, like a beat and a rhythm to it, which some trailers just don't.
It does. Here's what I'll say about the Solo trailer, right? It's not the worst trailer ever. It's just fine. Here's my thing. It didn't move my needle in either direction. So it's kind of failed at winning me over or making me think, oh, this actually should exist, or this, I actually want to watch this. I've came out of it feeling the exact same level of ambivalence that I did before. That's
fair. Did you watch the actual teaser from the Super Bowl or just the main trailer?
No, just the main trailer.
There's a shot of Glover as Lando. Obviously he's in this trailer as well, but there's a different shot of him in the teaser because weirdly it actually had a lot of different content. Usually those teasers that you get before the trailer are just clips from the trailer, and then you get this. But it had him in this big massive coat, and it looked glorious, and I can't wait for that. I will say my biggest concern is Han Solo, which is a problem when it's a Han Solo movie. I will concede.
Yeah.
I'm not against him necessarily. I don't think there's enough in this trailer for me to judge him on. But he's got an uphill battle. I will agree with that. I don't think they've been too like one of the biggest things that you've always complained about is, oh, they're just going to say lines that we know that Han Solo says and then just coast by on that. There's not much of that in this trailer, at the very least.
It's a pretty short trailer, though.
I mean, it is. There's not, but I mean, there's.
I mean, I say that I don't necessarily mean it's only quote lines that we've heard him say before. I just mean that everything's going to somehow tie into things we know about his past.
I mean, because the things that we've actually got is, for a start, the Han Solo, he's always been roguish, shall we say? His narration in this trailer tells us that he's been doing this for too long. You know, he thought about doing the Imperial Academy, but he got kicked out because it wasn't for him. So they're not like making him a good person that gets corrupted. So that's a positive. Yeah, you agree with that?
I neither agree or disagree with that.
I mean, I feel like it would have been easy for them to make him a bit more heroic and then sour him.
I didn't really think about them doing that, to be honest, so I don't really have an opinion.
That shocks me.
Like, my biggest thing is just, like, it's all going to be this foreshadowing stuff, and I think I don't need to see a Kessel Run. I don't need to see how he wins the Falcon in a game of whatever. Like,
I think it was Sabak, but I could be wrong on that one actually.
Am I supposed to know what that is?
No, you're not.
Right, good. Like, I don't know. Like, I watched this trailer and all I see is fan service. I don't see a movie that's made because someone had a great idea. I see fan service.
So that's interesting because I don't see much fan servicey things in this trailer other than it's Han Solo. Beyond the concept, I don't see much that is directly fan servicey.
I don't know. Like most of what it's cutting to, like it cuts to the Falcon, it cuts to Chewie. It's like, oh yeah, there's Solo translating for Chewie because that's what Solo does. I don't know.
That's not fan servicey. That's things that you're going to get in a Han Solo movie. There's a difference.
And I think the existence of a Han Solo movie in and of itself is fan servicey.
Okay, that's fair.
It's
I can't
easy.
argue with that.
It's lazy. It's just mining backstory that's supposed to be backstory, and
I'm just saying there are things in this that genuinely interest me. Because I was getting very cynical, like when they've been this long till we'd seen anything. But there were things like the bit where it looks like it's a western, where they've got the line up on the deserty bit, and he's reaching for his holster, very classic western style. I'm like, okay, this is different.
I felt nothing basically. Is my thing. I felt nothing. I just
dead to me.
I could not care less about Solo. I could not care less. And
you're gonna go see it anyway.
But part of me was like, well, I'll just let Matt and Connor review Solo. Like, what's anyone getting out of me, shitting all over it because I just don't care. But maybe that offers balance because
maybe that's what people are getting out of it, watching you not care.
Because to be fair, as much as I got shitty comments on the last Star Wars review, like hating me for the opinions, and to be fair, there's a lot of people who agree with me as well. There were some people who were like, "Oh, thankfully someone's there to counteract the fanboy drilling that was coming out of your mouth."
There was no fanboyism in that movie. Like on my opinions of that movie.
You were overlooking a lot of shite. Again, I feel like you are so critical and so cynical of everything else, but when it comes to Star Wars, these rose-tinted glasses come on and nothing's acknowledged. It's just, no, I love it anyway. That's all it is.
I disagree with that.
Well, speaking about things I don't care about, we got a trailer for Venom this week.
Do you know what? I know I watched this right before we started recording this evening. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure I could tell you anything that was in it.
There was a bit of symbiote, like in a glass tube at one point, and Tom Hardy was monologuing a lot, and then he was kind of going crazy. There's some cars flipping around, and then it doesn't even tell you the title of the movie; it just says V. Which the makers of that V movie are going to have a problem with later on, I think.
It does tell you Venom at the start. It says Venom official teaser trailer.
Oh yeah, but you won't see that in the theater.
No, no, you won't.
That's just a little 5-second thing. Which, by the way, I hate that on YouTube. I hate that they put those
Well, they take a little bit from the trailer and put it at the start, and then do the title card, and then go into the actual trailer. It's stop it.
And I know why they do it. They do it because it also plays as an ad before YouTube videos, so they want the first 5 seconds to be snappy and tell you what it is, so you'll hopefully stick around. But it's annoying.
It is.
But yeah, this is a trailer that tells you almost nothing about the movie's actually going to be like, and it's just Tom Hardy. And I like Tom Hardy, don't get me wrong, but it looks like a pretty generic movie so far.
I don't understand why in a Venom movie they are saving the reveal of Venom.
No, I get it to a point, but I feel like there should be more of a hint of it. Like, see him in the shadows, hear the noise. Maybe it's just a shadow, but you see the eyes and the tongue or something.
Okay, fine, but if you don't know what Venom is, there is nothing in this to suggest it's that sort of movie.
There is not, no. Other than the Marvel logo. That's the only thing.
Other than that, sure.
Yeah, that's the only thing that tells you kind of roughly what this might be. But
this is an awful trailer.
And it actually it kind of ties into how the first image they released. I remember the headlines. Oh, first image of Tom Hardy and Venom released. And then you click on the link, and it's
just Tom Hardy.
It's just Tom Hardy standing there in a shirt, and it's like, oh, all right.
Yeah. I didn't expect too much from that, because I'm like, okay, I'm assuming that most of it's going to be CG, to be honest.
No, but you'll at least expect. Maybe I'm doing something interesting, but he's literally just he's leaning against a table in a shirt.
Yeah, maybe show him with some mocap dots on.
Maybe, or no, I'm thinking just no. He's like, at one point in the trailer, you see him on like a table, like strapped down. Maybe show a picture of that and be like, "Oh, why is he strapped to a table?" Like, build some intrigue or something. I don't know.
Oh man, this is an awful trailer.
It's a terrible trailer.
I mean, maybe it'll be a decent movie. We'll find out later in the year. But
that'd be really funny to me if it ends up being a good movie. Actually, like somehow it just happens to be good.
We've seen movies with bad trailers before, but this is just another level of bad.
Let's move on. Deadpool 2 got its first full trailer this week. Actually, I think it was billed as a teaser. Actually, now I think about it, but regardless, Deadpool 2, mainly an introduction to Cable. It has some fun with its meta stuff where the Cable, like halfway through the monologue, comes out and his arms are just like covered in green, and then like it pauses and Deadpool's like, "Hey, what asshole didn't finish the green screen stuff? Like his arms not proper."
Because I thought it was green, I was like, "Wait, what?" And then it's like, "Okay, it's a bit, it's fine."
Yeah, and then he does like a Toy Story bit because he's got like a little toy Cable and he's got a toy version of him with a cowboy hat on, and
he quotes Woody a few times.
Yeah.
It was a very Deadpool trailer, wasn't it?
It was a very Deadpool trailer. It was amusing. Josh Brolin looks fine as Cable. You see a couple of glimpses of Domino doing her thing.
Yeah, you got what's her name from the first one?
Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
That sounds about right. I don't know enough to dispute it though. But yeah, sounds familiar.
Something to that effect. His girlfriend's back, who of course Marina Baccarin, who was in Firefly. Joss Whedon made that, of course. Also the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Really, that's the one you go with this week. You're literally playing. You know how you can play like 7 steps of Kevin Bacon.
6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. I think you'll find it's called.
Well, it's different versions. Some people play 7 steps. You play 6 degrees. Fine.
No, the wrong people say that. Sure, but yeah, go on.
But you do that with how many steps can I get to Joss Whedon and Buffy?
Never takes me 6, I'll tell you that right now.
No, it doesn't. But you pick and choose your stories the way you know you can do it in 2 or 4.
So, Deadpool 2. It looks funny. Kind of like the first one did. With a bit of luck, maybe the plot, given that Cable and time travel are involved, maybe the plot will actually be a bit better. Because that was my big problem with the first one, is that I thought the villain and the actual plot of the story was kind of just weak.
That's fair. I forgive the plot of that movie because it's a comedy first and foremost. At least in my opinion it is anyway. And as a comedy, I don't need much plot. But this, because at least from this trailer here, they're clearly showing the plot more than they ever did in the marketing for the first movie. So it has to be a bit better here, yeah.
Well, no, I think my problem is you can tell me it's a comedy first, but it doesn't change the fact that when we get to the third act and he's fighting the very bland, generic British villain that I don't really care about anything that's happening.
No, that's fair. For me, as long as I'm still laughing, even during that, as long as it's still funny, that's enough for me in a comedy.
Okay. But no, that's fine. Next up, we got a full trailer for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
Which I will be stopping listening to you here.
He's such a...
I can still hear this part. I was waiting. I was getting up.
Why don't you trust me not to spoil anything? This is so weird.
Because you intentionally spoil things for me when I've said this in the past.
Fine, I did that once intentionally, just to annoy you, but like...
It was a dick move, and then you ensured I mute myself. And you can give me a thumbs up.
Right, well, we'll see if I give you a thumbs up, I don't know. So, anyway, so... This definitely seems to focus a little bit more on the horror. I think it's a better trailer than the first one by far. I feel like I got more plot. I got a sense of the new character, the younger kid, who his scream actually like leads into part of the score in the trailer, which was pretty fun. There's some cool moments where like Chris Pratt like jumps through a T-Rex's mouth, which was like interesting. It does very much seem that they're bringing dinosaurs off the island. We're going to have some of it back in the city or somewhere else in the second half of the movie, which is fine. What I'm really happy about though is that it seems like the bond between Chris Pratt and Blue is like a focus of the movie again, and like he's going to be an ally. Like Blue or the pet Velociraptor is going to be an ally. And that's I think that's exciting. So I'm glad they're focusing on that. But I'm liking the look of it. I like the first one. I know not everyone loved the first Jurassic World, but it touched my nostalgia feelers in the right place. Along with being a solid enough adventure movie, I think it worked for me quite a lot of ways. So no, I think the second one from this trailer specifically looks better. All right, I'll bring Connor back in since he's sitting there being a
what?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of the appropriate insult for what you're doing when you refuse to watch the trailer. Alright, next trailer we had was for Mission Impossible Fallout. There's a lot of big trailers. I feel like we've had 5 in a row, but they're all big budget, tentpole movies. So Mission Impossible Fallout is the 6th Mission Impossible film. We see the mustache that broke half of Justice League in this trailer. Henry Cavill's wearing his mustache. Happy to see Simon Pegg back. Rebecca Ferguson's back from the last movie, although I still have some leftover issues with not having Paula Patton back from the 4th movie, because I liked that team in the 4th movie. It also seems that Jeremy Renner, who was there for the last 2, is missing for this one, which is unfortunate, because one of the things I really liked about the 4th one is I feel like we built a team, and I feel like the 5th movie mostly kept it. We lost Patton, which was a shame, but we otherwise kept it, and then we've lost someone else this time. So that's kind of bugging me. Otherwise, it looks like a Mission Impossible movie with some good stunts. The plot's probably neither here nor there.
I have very little to say about this because I've not watched most of the franchise. Looks fine. Probably not going to bother.
I'll say what I do like about the trailer, though. I do like that they're kind of acknowledging part of the plot seems to be that, hey, almost every single movie in this franchise has Ethan Hunt and his team working outside of the law because their organisation thinks they're bad guys, so they have to like sort of be on their own and go rogue. Which is why it's kind of laughable that they called the 5th one Rogue Nation, as if this is the first time they've had to do that. But they're kind of using it here. They're like, oh, what if he's finally turned because his government keeps turning their back on him? I'm like, oh, okay, use that. Sure, use that in the plot. Why not? But hey, it looks fine. If nothing else, hopefully it should at least match 1, 3, and 5, which is kind of the standard for the movies. And hey, if it goes above and beyond and is better than that, or close to 4, then that'd be fantastic. But it is a decent franchise, and the trailer kind of falls in line with that. Next up, we got a trailer for Skyscraper, which is the Rock movie we were mentioning earlier, which I didn't know existed before this dropped.
Me either, and I was like, oh, he's doing another one.
And this is an action movie, as you'd expect. It is the new, fancy, made-up, tallest building in the world, and he has been hired as an ex-security officer to basically check the safety of it and like give a report about what he thinks could go wrong, and because
I assume they're hiring to be the head security man.
It might be
ongoing.
On the trailer though. It kind of felt like he was there to like advise. It felt like in Jurassic Park where they bring in like the scientists to say.
I get you, but the fact that they go, oh no, all right, they brought his whole family along and gone, right, that's your flaw. I felt like, okay, no, you're.
Oh, but
here.
He's not keeping that floor though.
No. But I feel like the intention would be, okay, you live there, you keep that floor for now.
The building's empty though. We should point this out. It's otherwise unoccupied, except maybe the guy who built it, you know, the big boss man. Maybe he's living there. But
is it entirely empty? I thought it was just their floor that was empty.
Well, there is that line, but she says that to workers working in things, which equally implies to me that she just means there shouldn't be any workers on this floor.
Maybe. I'm a bit unclear on this, I'll be honest. I assume there was people still on the
I don't know why.
levels.
You've disputed me on 2 points in the trailer so far, and I don't think either of them are that complicated or hard to understand.
No, I assume there was people on the lower levels. It made it sound like there was.
The building's not open yet. It's still been worked on. There's still scaffolding and stuff. There's big cranes outside, which is relevant for the plot. And he's there to advise on if he thinks it's safe. It's not open yet, which is why they've been given a whole floor. I don't know. I felt like this was all pretty straightforward to me, but
No, fair enough.
Yeah, and obviously bad guys show up because they're there for reasons. We don't really get a reason in the trailer, but obviously they're either
one in the film, I hope.
Oh, of course there'll be one in the film, but they'll be there to sabotage or steal something or get back to the boss man for something, to get some agenda. But it's all about the Rock running around. By the way, he's got one leg. His leg was
Talk about burying the lead.
Well, they didn't make him relatable. Like we could actually take him in a fight. So how do you do that? You take away his leg. I still don't fancy my chances, admittedly, but
I feel like he could just take off the leg and beat most of us around the head with it.
Yeah, most lately. So there's that, which is probably why he's not currently like active doing something else. That's why he's an advisor, because he's not necessarily physically cleared to actually go on missions and do things and whatnot. So yeah, it's a movie set in a skyscraper with him trying to save his family. There's a lot of climbing really high places. There's a lot of jumping off of giant cranes. A lot of physics going out the window. Honestly, this is one of the best looking movies The Rock's ever been in.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm into it. This is exactly the dumb action movie that I want in my life.
And I know everyone keeps referring to it as Die Hard, but with The Rock. But he ain't squeezing in any vents.
No. Honestly, it feels more like, I don't know. It doesn't feel like Die Hard to me. I mean, it kind of is, but
it kind of is. You got a bunch of people in a tower.
Yeah, but Die Hard had more hostages and stuff though, and it was like a.
It is. You've just replaced a group of hostages with just a family.
Honestly, it feels more like Towering Inferno to me, in a weird way. Not in plot, but just because in Towering Inferno it's a new building, and they're all like showing off how fancy your building is, and it's great. I was getting more of those vibes because it's a new building, and he's all like, oh, happy, and he's like, oh, this is, or even Titanic. It was unsinkable, like. It's got that kind of vibe for it. But hey, I don't know. I like the look of it,
stupid but fun.
Yeah, that's kind of my thing. I was surprisingly into this trailer because I saw the 30-second spot from the Super Bowl, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, he's doing his jumping thing. But when I saw the full trailer, it was like, oh, his family there, and then they get the bad guys have got them, and he has to save them, and he's running around trying to get to them, and they're on like the 96th floor. Yeah. And it's like, oh, okay, right, we're doing a lot of this.
God, can you imagine having to take the bloody stairs?
Oh dear, over 5, and I'm like, no, this.
I once lived on a 12th floor, and the stairs for that killed me. I can't imagine 96.
Oh dear, they're basically useless at that. I mean, obviously you can go downstairs much easier than going up them. So I guess in an emergency. Yeah, you go down the stairs.
Even then, when you're going down more than 10 floors, flights of stairs, you still kind of get out of breath.
Oh, sure.
Or I do, anyway. I'm clearly very unfit.
Yeah, yes, clearly. So that's Skyscraper. That's the thing. Next up, we had a trailer for a movie called Spinning Man, which has Guy Pearce, and it has Pierce Brosnan. And he lives in a neighborhood. This Guy Pearce. Well, this girl goes missing, presumably dead, and Pierce Brosnan's the detective investigating it, and Guy Pearce has got a family, he's got a good job, he seems like a family man, but the police come to his door and say, hey, a car matching your car's description was spotted, with her, and it's basically, okay, did he actually do something? It seems like he's innocent at first, but then the trailer, as it goes on, it's like, oh, does he, like, forget things? Does he have, like, this weird thing? Is he really a killer? Did he kidnap the girl? The trailer probably gives away too much, to be honest, as it goes through all these different plot points.
Yeah.
And you see...
But at the same time, if it doesn't get to that stuff... I'm going, all right, what is this movie other than just a regular, detective?
And his wife,
movie?
Minnie Driver's, like, starting to suspect him as well by the end of the trailer, and that's kind of the whole thing. Honestly, I think it looks kind of it's like a lot of good actors in a really generic looking movie. The one thing that stood out to me though that made me kind of chuckle is at one point Guy Pearce starts monologuing about, can I remember this? Like, am I forgetting things? And all I could think about was Memento, because it sounded like he was narrating in Memento again.
Yeah, I did the same.
But I mean that's that.
That's theaters and on demand, April 6th.
Oh, okay. Can't say I'm excited. It looks kind of generic and bland.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to bother.
I feel like they're going to have a twist, and it's probably going to be very underwhelming. I don't know what the twist is, but it's going to be underwhelming, whatever it is. It's Brosnan. Brosnan kidnapped the girl, and it's all a ruse.
It's the wife. The wife did it.
Alright, next up, we have a trailer for a movie called Life of the Party. This is a Melissa McCarthy movie where she decides to go back to college, where her daughter currently is. And it's a movie about a middle-aged woman at college, and she's getting drunk with the kids and having sex with young men, and that's the whole movie.
You couldn't pay me to watch this movie.
It's Melissa McCarthy doing her improv thing where she just keeps talking and does more jokes.
Which is exactly why you couldn't pay me to watch it.
Yeah, I don't like her either, so yeah. Quick and done. It looks like a stupid Melissa McCarthy comedy.
It's out in May if anyone gives a shit.
So that's Life of the Party. Next up we had a trailer for a movie called The Titan, which was Sam Wellington, and for whatever reason, I actually looked for multiple versions of this, and they all had these weird subtitles, whatever language it was. Don't know why.
Looked Russian to me.
But yeah, so this is a movie where him and a bunch of other soldiers are going into this procedure to try and make them physically capable of surviving on Titan, which is of course the Saturn's moon. And the reason why they're doing that is because Earth has got maybe 10 years left before resources are going. It's going to be uninhabitable. They have to start looking for solutions and places to go. But the movie actually becomes about how this procedure kind of starts to go wrong, and he kind of turns into a monster by the end of the movie, which made me kind of chuckle because I was thinking this is like Avatar almost, just it goes wrong.
Yeah, okay, that's what you're saying.
In a weird way, just slightly.
Yeah.
But hey, what did you think? What do you feel?
I think it looks okay, a bit generic looking. It could be alright though. I don't know, maybe it'll surprise me. I don't think the trailer should have had "the" in it. It should have just been Titan. Because Titan is the double meaning there. You've got the moon Titan and then the thing, whereas the Titan kind of eliminates the double meaning because you don't call the moon the Titan.
Sure, I have no problem with that specifically, but
it just bugged me.
I thought the idea's okay, but when it went down he's just turned into a monster, and by the end they're all trying to shoot him, and he's he's
it's kind of. It feels, at least, very obvious that they all think he's a monster, and then by the end, it's like he actually won't be. He'll have just been trying to save his family or something.
Yeah, something. Like I say, I think once again, generic. Much like Spinning Man, it feels like, okay, there's nothing wrong with the premise in theory, although Spinning Man has a better cast, but it just looks kind of generic. Next up, we had a trailer for a movie called Josie, which Matt's... Matt's big crush, Sophie Turner from Game of Thrones, is in this, and
I don't think she's his crush when she's blonde.
That's true. She got blonde hair in this, and she's basically this young kind of layabout who happens to have caught the eye of this middle-aged man, Dylan McDermott, who is also a bit of a recluse. He's kind of weird and maybe creepy, but she seems to be into him, and it's basically her trying to kind of flirt with him. But he's kind of getting feelings for her, and things go wrong, and dark stuff happens by the end. But most of the movie seems to be this weird sexual tension where she is trying to kind of lure him out and whatever.
Honestly, I found it really hard to focus on what the plot of the trailer was because Sophie Turner's accent that she was doing was so awful that it was really distracting me.
Yeah, she's doing this.
It was like this weird southern accent,
Yeah,
but it's not quite.
She's doing the southern accent, as is he. Like everyone's got a southern accent. It's just set in the south, but
yeah, but hers was really distracting.
Yeah, well, obviously it's not even close to a real.
Well, it's not even that's not even close to her real voice. It's just that it wasn't a very good southern accent either. It just sounded wrong.
Well, that's what I meant. It's not close to her voice, so she's struggling clearly.
Oh, okay. I feel like many people who aren't close to their original voices can still do accents better than that.
Although they can't. My point was is that other people in the movie might not be in that case.
Okay, I'm with you.
She sticks out because it's maybe further than everyone else.
I'm with you, compared to the others. I got you now.
But yeah, I can't say this particularly excited me either. Like, I feel like we got a few mediocre trailers here.
Not a great week for trailers. I think, honestly, people were like, "Hey, it's Super Bowl week. We'll take a week off."
I don't know. I mean, to be fair, the big trailers were more like, well, I like Jurassic World. I like Skyscraper. Mission Impossible was alright.
I like Deadpool.
Deadpool's okay. Yeah.
I liked Solo. Obviously, you didn't, but
yeah, I'm good. Yeah, weaker week for trailers. Yeah, it's all this sort of sexual tension, and she's trying to like get him to open up, and like it's like, oh, will he take the bait, if you will, and you know, it's just this kind of awkward thriller thing.
Yeah.
I wasn't really feeling it.
No, me too.
The characters just didn't seem particularly interesting or likable, so I was left kind of feeling, eh. Next up, we had a trailer for a movie called Oh Lucy, which appears to be a Japanese movie, although it does have a kind of a mix where it kind of like it has like an American actor in it as well, speaking English, and then it kind of moves to America, moves to LA, in the second half of the trailer. So it's a kind of an interesting movie in that sense, where it's this half and half kind of thing. Yeah. This is about a woman in Japan who is like asked to go and learn English, get English lessons, and this is I keep forgetting the guy's name. Josh Hartnett is the English teacher at this place, and it's funny because at first I wasn't thinking it was going to go down a romance angle, but then it did, and it's like, no, this woman falls for him, and then he has to like give up his job, and it feels like there might be like a shitty reason for it, that maybe he's hiding something. But you don't really get the sort of the fallout of that in the trailer necessarily. But he has to quit and move back to LA. And she, because she's kind of fallen for him, decides that she's going to go and visit him and track him down. And she does, and is a bit of a weird star-crossed love story.
It was strange because the start of the trailer, she was very much like, yeah, he's a bit overly friendly, and it felt like she really wasn't into him. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, she's traveling across the world from now?
Just funny, I actually kind of liked the trailer, even though I'm not... there's definitely things I'm unclear about it. There's definitely weird elements to it where I think, like, why is he making her wear a blonde wig? And, like, because it's called Oh Lucy because he gives her, like, Lucy as a name.
I get that. That's very realistic.
It's realistic to a point, although I'm not sure why she needs an English name when she's just learning English in her homeland, where she's not actually going to be interacting with like it makes more sense when you move to another country and your name is like hard to pronounce or your name's like difficult to use.
That's true. Maybe
she's just learning English at home, so it isn't. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder if it's something that he does with all the students. Is you all get an English name because some of the teachers are like we only speak the language we're learning here, and you have to pick it up, sort of thing. Yeah,
it feels like he's just some of these quirky ideas. Oh, you wear the blonde wig because you're feeling character kind of thing.
Yeah, it did make me laugh. When he gave her the name tag,
and she has it sideways.
She turns it sideways, so you read it vertically.
Yeah. That was a nice little touch. What I think I liked about it is that she was actually quite likable and charming. And there was like a nice kind of like likable like when she's in LA and she's like trying to like order food and stuff and she's struggling, but it's all played for kind of like a sweetness to it where it's like, oh yeah,
it's rather charming.
Yeah. That said, I don't know if the movie's actually going to work, but
yeah, I don't have any idea either.
But at the very least, the trailer was memorable, and I'm like, okay, right, I'll remember that clearly when I'm talking about it. Whereas some other ones where I'm like, what was the spinning man again? Like,
hey, if you asked me to, like I said here, you asked me to grab the Venom trailer, I can't do it.
but you remember moments from this. You remember.
Yeah, well, like I said, I just point out the badge, for example. Like that's one that okay, no, that's something I can tell you that I liked, which is more than I can say for the other ones.
Yeah, I'm unclear if I'm actually going to think the movie's any good, but at the very least, the trailer was unique and maybe go, oh, okay, this is a bit different as a movie. So,
yeah,
take that for what it's worth. Next up, we had a trailer for a film that it was titled "The Last Man" in the description and in the title of the YouTube and all the rest of it. The title at the end of the trailer, however, said "Numb: at the edge of the end." So clearly they changed their minds as what the title was going to be, but didn't bother re-entering their trailer to actually have the right title on it, which is a poor sign. That's the first big mark against them.
And the second sign is we're actually bringing this full circle for the trailers, because obviously we started with Star Wars, and we have a nice little link here for the circle.
Oh, you're going with this? Okay.
Oh, I'm going with this. This is how I know I see this and I go, I don't want to watch this.
Because none other than Hayden Christensen is in this. As is Harvey Keitel.
Has he ever been in a good movie?
That's probably something. I bet you find something somewhere in his filmography.
All right. Has he ever been the lead in a good movie?
Oh, probably not. I can't imagine so. And the apocalypse is like, and when I say apocalypse, like the famine's coming or something. Is this kind of in the future and you still have to fight? I have no idea what this is about.
Okay, shall I read the description?
Go on, yeah, read the description.
Tov Matheson is a war veteran with PTSD who perceives that the end of the world is coming. So it might not actually be.
Okay.
He just thinks it is. After establishing a relationship with a dubious messiah, he leaves his normal life and begins the construction of a shelter underground, training himself in an extreme way at the cost of losing everything and making people believe he is insane. When he also believes it, something extraordinary happens.
This doesn't look very good. This
sounds atrocious.
It looks like it's one of these like sort of lower budget, this little idea out kind of movie, and yeah, that description didn't exactly thrill me with either.
It's funny the link that you've used here for the trailer. It has the description. And it's got all the information underneath it, like genre, director, brightest stars, and it has a section for release date, and they've left release date in, but it's just blank. Like, I don't know if that's come from whoever sent them the information and they just go, well, we haven't got a release date yet, so just or if it's a template for this YouTube channel that has just not deleted that.
I do not know, but I did not like the look of it, I'll say that much. Which is a shame because the concept in and of itself in the right hands could be something, but the trailer did not fill me with confidence. Yeah. So that's the trailers, and we do pick our favourite trailer of the week at the end.
Oh, you remembered.
I did remember. Well, I did it last week.
So I know, but I thought you'd forget this time.
Yeah. So what's your favourite trailer of the week?
Oh, this is tough. I think I might give it to Deadpool. I think it was a lot of fun.
Alright, okay. The Joaquin made wants to say Skyscraper, but I'm going to go with Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. It was a big improvement on the first trailer, and I appreciated all the things it focused on.
Cool.
Which I can't talk about because Connor doesn't want to know anything.
Yeah, but you already spoke about all the things it focused on, so everyone already knows. I was getting ready to... I had my finger on the mute button there.
Alright, well, we're back on to general news. Try and be a bit more quickfire with these ones a little bit to keep the show from inflating to ridiculous lengths because we're probably still going to hit 2 hours anyway, but let's try and not hit 2.5. Yeah, maybe that's the goal for the week. So first up, best-selling novel The Light We Lost, Jill Santopolo is going to adapt her own book for a movie. That's the thing that's happening. The story follows a young couple who meet at Columbia University on the morning of September 11th, 2001. Their relationship to one another... What? Why are you laughing?
Just the fact that it feels the need to say 2001. I feel like that was unnecessary. If you highlight the date, September 11th.
True. I feel like just saying 9/11 would be better if you're just going to say it that way. But
yeah.
The relationship to one another and to the world is forged in the crucible of that day. They both decide that they want their lives to mean something quickly. They become a binary star orbiting around one another. So it's a soppy romance that they meet each other on 9/11.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, not really feeling that particularly myself either. Next up, we have Selton Mello, one of Brazil's most marketable talents. He's both an actor and he's a creator, so he does directing stuff, he also does acting. He is setting his US debut in terms of directing. He is working behind the camera. His directorial features, like recently The Clown and The Movie of My Life, were both big successes in Brazil, like, you know, when he made his first movies. But his first US film is going to be called Cathedral City, and it is written by John Newman, and it is about a musician who discovers his late father's secret life. Not a lot to go on, but that's the thing that's happening.
I mean, they're telling me he's a great director, so could be a great film. But I've got no context to judge on for myself.
Vincent Cassel was in his last movie, so you know he's worked with notable actors before too.
Yeah.
Next up, Russell Brand has been cast in a movie called Butterfingers. He's going to play a lonely, down in his luck hitman. It's an indie comedy caper, is what they're calling it. The film will follow Keith, also known as the world as Butterfingers. He becomes involved in a race to complete a hit ahead of his arch rival. Or his arch rival, sorry.
I was going to say, what's an arch rival?
His arch rival, with two kids he has kidnapped along the way in tow. So he's a hitman, and he has to babysit two kids that he kidnapped as he's trying to kill someone.
This could be fun. I like Russell Brand. I know he's an acquired taste for many, though.
I don't know if I like the idea of Russell Brand in this. I think this is an okay comedy idea for, I don't know, someone else. like I can see this being a movie made in the 80s with a lot of actors that I think would fit it perfectly.
I'll be honest. I don't think just to spoil the end of the movie, the end of this show a little bit. Mm-hmm. I did watch The Hitman's Bodyguard this week, which you know isn't a million miles away in terms of concept and tone from or at least what that sounds like.
Oh, okay.
And that's Ryan Reynolds.
Ah, yeah, he could do that. Yeah, he could.
I get what you said. That's more his sort of role.
All right. Next up, Armie Hammer has got his next project lined up. It's untitled, but it's a Annapurna Pictures thriller. From director of Under the Shadow, which is a film that came out a couple of years ago. Babak Anvari is the director's name. He's writing and directing. The story follows a New Orleans bartender whose life begins to unravel after a series of disturbing and inexplicable events begin to happen when he picks up a phone left behind at his bar. That doesn't tell us a lot, but I do actually like the seed.
I do too,
You
surprisingly.
know, he's in a bar, he's like, someone's left a phone and he answers it, and he hears something or sees something he's not meant to, and it starts to unravel from there.
Yeah. Maybe it's not even, it says picks up a phone, obviously that implies answers, but it could be just, he literally picks up, you know when it shows you message previews on your phone, and you see something on the front of like the message, and it's like, okay, what is this?
Yeah. So I like, not a lot to go on, but I do like the seed. It could go in any direction from there, but
I like the idea of him. For me, at least, it would be something I'd do is he can't unlock the phone, but so you can only see the message previews, or he could answer it if it rang. But you can't get all. You don't get all the details. You just get some.
Yeah. Well, they've set a March 29th, 2019 release date, so it's moving fast.
Yeah.
It's just over a year, so obviously they're getting going. Next up, Amber Heard has been cast as the lead in a film, a romantic thriller called Run Away With Me. Fred Grievous is directing, and we've got Matthew Ian Kralnick writing the script. I just had to think about that there. Kralnick. So the story is centered on Tom and Kimberly, Heard being Kimberly, two star-crossed lovers escaping the dark criminal underbelly of the European modelling industry. Tom, an American visiting Paris for his best friend's bachelor party, falls for the beautiful, mysterious Kimberly. When Tom learns a surprising truth about her, his trip takes a lethal turn. The two embark on a riveting journey through Paris streets to start a new life together. Sounds
not that interested, I'll be honest.
Sounds like an action thriller version of Before Sunrise. Somehow. Yeah, not particularly interested myself either. Oh, she's secretly with the mob or something. Oh shit, we need to run from bad guys.
Yeah, it doesn't really interest me. It doesn't mean it's bad, but it just doesn't interest me.
Next up, Masters of the Universe is going to have to find a new director. David S. Goyer has pulled out of directing it. This is the Sony Pictures He-Man movie that has been in the works. Apparently, he turned in a draft of the script a while ago, though. But
He'll probably still work from that.
Yeah, he is leaving, though. He's working on Foundation, a mini-series of a science fiction trilogy, which we did speak about in the TV news a few months ago. I remember mentioning it.
I recall, yeah.
But he's picked that over this, though, for his time, so...
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. I think I speak for both of us, from memory at least, that neither of us really care about He-Man.
No, I never...
Yeah, this is probably good news for anyone who does care.
Yeah, probably, because David S. Goyer typically is not a very good writer, so...
Yeah. I mean, it's good news for us in that we might get a film that we'll enjoy, but I have no attachment to that. I'm not excited for this on any level.
I don't care about He-Man. He-Man and Action Man are both...
give me Action Man, but He-Man, whatever.
They're just kind of there. But hey, they've currently got a release date set for December 18th, 2019, and that's starting to feel a bit unlikely, given that this will be...
I don't know. So the script's ready, I mean...
If they don't get a director soon...
I mean, if they get one in the next month or two, but I mean...
I don't think they've cast it either.
I mean, that's fair. I don't know how far along they are, but as long as they're going by early summer, 18 months.
Because this is a blockbuster movie. This is a big budget movie.
But 18 months is still more than enough.
I don't know. There's tons of big budget movies that finish a lot earlier than you think they do before they're ready to come out, because they're working in effects for so long and...
No, but I'm just thinking 18 months is reasonable for it to happen. I'm not saying that it won't get pushed. I'm saying it could still make.
That's getting pushed. Next up, Numu Rapace is being cast in an Australian psychological thriller called Angel of Mine, which will be directed by Kim Ferrant. They're going to be selling the film at the Berlin European Film Market later this month. So it is a Melbourne set remake of a 2008 French film. L'Empirient de l'Ange.
I wish I could see this word.
It's a French. Well, it's more than one word. It's multiple words.
All right, fine.
It charts a woman's brush with madness after she loses her daughter and becomes convinced that another woman's child is in fact her own. So, I can see Numu Rapace doing crazy. That's my kid.
Yeah, I do like her. I just don't always like her movies. I think she's very capable, though, so yeah, maybe.
That makes sense. But it sounds like a fight. It sounds like a potentially, crazy sort of character for her to play. And
yeah, it does remind me I need to go check out that Netflix movie she was in last year, where she's doing like 5 or 6, 7. I think it's the whole concept, isn't it?
Yeah.
7.
What happened to Monday?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's potential. Next up, we have a film called The Great Alone. Sony TriStar Pictures has purchased it to Kristen Hanna's book, The Great Alone, which is a follow-up to her best-selling novel, The Nightingale. So they want to make this into a movie. Great Alone is set in 1974 when a former POW comes home from the Vietnam War as a changed and volatile man. Sorry, my inflection was wrong on that. I was not prepared for that to be the end of the sentence.
Oh, you did that in the TV news as well.
I know. After he loses yet another job, the family decides to move to Alaska, where they will live off the grid, in a desperate bid to find peace, restoration, and freedom. But when the darkness of winter falls out in the wild, there's no one to save them except themselves.
Sounds kind of generic.
It depends. Like, what's the threat when they're out in the wilderness? Is it him? Is it him going crazy, or is there like some sort of external threat that they have to?
That's true. I think the movie might not be generic. Their description sounds generic.
Yeah. Not much on the excitement levels. Next up, we have a film. So, Stray Dogs, which is Nathan Fisher's Paris company, has acquired the international sales rights to Johannes Nalholm's Coco di Coco Da.
I like it.
Coco Da follows a couple who goes on a trip to find their way back to each other a few years after the tragic death of their only child. But the couple ends up reliving a traumatic night over and over again whilst camping. The story, told through their mutual dreams, is about relationships, grief, and love as a healing force.
That got more interesting once you mentioned it with the dreams.
Yeah, it sounds kind of like it sounds like a simple premise at first, but it sounds like it's going to be told in a really insane way.
This could get abstract.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting from this. So no, I'm kind of into it. Just based on that, I've not seen The Giant, so I don't.
Yeah, no, nothing to judge on there.
Nothing to judge on quality wise.
Any idea what the title translates to?
No idea. No.
Okay, I thought maybe the article had mentioned.
No.
Sometimes they do that, but no. Okay,
no.
Shame on them.
Next up, Lionsgate's sister company Roadside Attractions has acquired the US rights to Juliet Naked, which stars Rose Byrne, Ethan Hawke, and Chris O'Dowd. It is a romantic comedy, and they're going to release the film sometime in the summer. Byrne portrays a woman stuck in a long-term relationship with O'Dowd's character, who is a huge fan of an obscure rock musician named Tucker Crowe, played by Ethan Hawke. When the acoustic demo of his hit record from 25 years ago surfaces, its release leads to a life-changing encounter with the elusive rocker himself. And it's based on a book by Nick Hornby.
Sounds reasonably fun, I guess.
I like the cast.
I like the cast. I think the premise is all right. I think it's down to, if you like these sort of movies, it sounds like it'll be a relatively decent one.
Yeah, I do like the cast, so possible things. Next up, Mira Sorvino and Val Kilmer, along with Michael Chiklis, have been added to a movie called Riptide. It's an indie film. Sean Hart wrote it and is directing the film. And it'll begin shooting this summer. It follows two sons of a biker drug trafficker who hold opposing views of their father's lifestyle. When the father's operation is raided by the ATF, the youngest looks to keep the business alive, while the oldest understands the threat that's surrounding the competition and the cartel possess, all of whom look to prey on their instability and ultimately the entire family's survival. I like that cast quite a bit. The plot synopsis does next to nothing for me.
I was going to say a very similar thing, but instead of saying I like that cast, I was going to say I like the title, and then you read the description, and I went, never mind.
No, Michael Chiklis, of course, from S.H.I.E.L.D. Fantastic TV show, fantastic. Anyway,
all right, very good cast.
Next up, Oscar-winning Australian filmmaker Stefan Roswitsky is attached to a film called Jet Lag, which is an airport set thriller. Jet Lag, written by Craig Mitchell, is the story of a college student who falls in love with a mysterious woman and uncovers her deadly smuggling ring during a layover at a busy metropolitan airport, and it's currently casting. This may end up being a really generic, crappy thriller. I think there's potential in the premise, though.
There is, but this is one I'm going to struggle to watch. Working in an airport, you know when
oh right, okay,
because obviously you're trained in filmmaking and stuff. When you see things where they do it and you're like, that's not how it's done. It takes you out of the moment, right? Mm-hmm. This is going to be one of those things for me where I go, well, they're not going to be realistic because that doesn't make a very good movie. But it's going to take me out constantly, going, nah, don't have to like that, mate.
I like it because it sounds like it all takes place over like this one like night or whatever, this layover, right? I mean, there'll be a little build up probably, but once they get there, I like the idea that he falls for this girl and then gets caught up in all these crazy things with people sneaking around the airport and what's happening on the plane and I can see potential for this being a fun little thriller.
I do like it as a concept as being fun, but I just know it will annoy me, unfortunately. But that is on me. I'm not blaming the movie.
I do not have that problem. Alright, next up, Ty Sheridan, who of course was in the last X-Men movies and Ready Player One that's coming out soon. He has been cast in a crime drama called The Night Clerk, which is written and directed by original Sin director Michael Christopher. Sorry, there was a bit of extra information before I got to his name that kind of threw me off.
I was wondering, I thought it was going to be a really hard to pronounce name.
No, easy enough. It was just there was more information that I thought was just frivolous. So next up, the description of
this one, please.
Yes. I'm getting there. That was a kind of autopilot phrase because I'm so used to saying that after I like I finished kind of the thought. Anyway, so it sees Sheridan start as a hotel night clerk, Bart Bromley, an intelligent young man on the autism spectrum who uses secret surveillance cameras to record guests in an effort to improve his social interaction skills. Yeah, that'll hold up in court, buddy. However, when a woman is murdered, Bromley becomes a prime suspect, and he refuses to reveal his illegal cameras that would prove his innocence. As the police investigation closes in, he becomes close to a beautiful guest named Audrey, but soon realises that he must stop the real murderer before she becomes the next victim.
This sounds kind of rough.
There's parts of it I like.
Parts of it I like, but overall I'm going, oh, I feel like I'm just going to sit there cringing through this movie.
I like the idea of I like the setting. I like the idea that there's a murder in the hotel and he's trying to stop the next person from being murdered. Honestly, the part that kind of bugs me mostly is the fact that the police are investigating him for it.
Yeah.
I'm not super sold on that part of it. I think there's some potential there.
I mean, maybe it'll be good. Don't get me wrong. Like, I feel that's something I should clarify a lot. Where I go, yeah, no. There's always potential for it to prove us wrong.
Yeah. But hey, so I think there's some potential there. I like the idea of, as much as it's kind of creepy, I do like the idea of him having all these security cameras and like watching for the killer and like that. I see potential. I see potential for this to turn into like a bit like Night Trap, just without the traps. But
so not that movie.
Video game.
Fine. Oh.
Night Trap is a video game from the Sega CD. You uncultured swine.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It got re-released in 2017 on the PS4.
Did it?
Funnily enough. Yeah, it did.
Okay, I missed that.
It's not necessarily worth buying, but it's worth maybe watching like a Let's Play or something. Just for the fun of it. So it's all video footage, and you've got basically the game is you control the security cameras in this house, and you're trying to protect the family from the bad guys that are coming into the house.
So it's what Five Nights at Freddy's ripped off.
Kind of, but this has an insane plot with actual actors doing things.
Is this one of those old FMV ones?
Yeah, it's Sega CD. That was like most of those games.
I didn't play a lot of those.
Alright, next up, LD Entertainment has acquired the film rights to Sarah Rothschild family's adventure script, The Sleepover, which was on the blacklist last year. The story follows a brother and sister who realise that there may be way more to their stay-at-home mum than meets the eye when a team of highly skilled thieves break into their home and kidnap their parents. Potential.
There is. It sounds very familiar to something I've seen or heard recently.
It reminds me of like the fact that it's called The Sleepover, and you've got these kids like who then have to try and like help their parents, and like there's more going on than they know. It reminds me of like 80s movies. Like I'm thinking of like obviously the plot's very different, but I'm thinking of like the tone and style of like the Adventures in Babysitting or stuff of that kind of ilk, or even Home Alone,
I know what you mean.
To an extent. Like the kids having to like sort of step up and do this. Like I see potential there.
It is very 80s. It's something that the nostalgia has been playing on lately for sure in the last couple of years. Obviously, Stranger Things being the one that popularized it. But yeah, it could be fun.
Next up, Milla Jovovich has been cast in a sci-fi action thriller called Hummingbird, which was also a blacklist script, written by John McClane, which is not the John McClane of Die Hard, of course. But,
obviously.
But still, it makes one notice it. And we have... Alright, so Paul W.S. Anderson rewrote the script, and then we have two directors, Marcus Kryler and Frederick Akerstrom. So, surprise, surprise, Paul Anderson's wife ended up in the movie. Yeah, shocker. But yeah, so in the vein of Lucy and the Bourne films, the story centers on a female assassin whose latest mark
I don't think they've seen the Bourne films.
Whose latest mark catapults her on a journey of shocking self-discovery. Olivia Munn was previously attached, but was dropped out for.
That's a shame.
reasons.
I like her.
Yeah, so you got Jovovich instead. So I don't really care. This is Anderson wrote part of this. No thanks. I'm good.
Yeah.
Next
I'll
up,
pass.
Saban Films has acquired the North American rights to Brad Silberling's An Ordinary Man, which is going to star Ben Kingsley. So it's directed from his own script. It follows a war criminal in hiding who forms a relationship with his only connection to the outside world, his maid. Peter Serafinowicz and Robert Blythe also star.
Have you ever said that name correctly on the first try? I don't blame you if you haven't.
I don't know. Maybe not. I usually have to recalibrate, and then say it.
You give it a shot and then go, that's not quite right, but I know where I went wrong, and then you can get it right.
Yeah, I could see, again. I'm seeing a lot of potential in a lot of these little pitches that we're reading today. Where I like the whole idea that he's held up in hiding, but he's got this one person who comes in and out that he can like get messages out with. Like I feel like there's something there. There's a core idea that they can build around. Whether or not it does, whether it actually becomes something worth watching.
Yeah, again, this is in concept is good, but it's all on the execution.
Next up, Paramount Pictures has acquired the rights to Dry, a thriller based on a novel by Neil and Jared Shusterman. So apparently they paid like a 6-7 figure deal for this. So the book begins when a California state-sponsored deal for diverted waterfalls through, and the water mains in Southern California run completely dry as a crippling drought hits. Stores of bottled water last only a matter of days, and the government can't mobilise fast enough to provide the water for its 23 million citizens. A group of teenage friends are forced to band together when chaos breaks out in their local community, and what ensues is a frightening survival scenario.
Hey, it's going to be that... What's the city that's running out of water in, like, May?
My mind's going to Flint, but that's just not had clean water for...
No, but there's a city that's running out of water in May, and it's like, I can't remember which one it is now, but it's a big thing right now, and no one knows quite what's going to happen. And because I know like they're having to give away, like once they run out, they're only like, I think they're only allowed to use 50 liters of water a day at the minute. But once it runs out, the government are providing like bottled water, but only 25 liters a day, and they have to go in person collect it, and the police presence at those is going to be huge because they're expecting, people to go crazy trying to get more. This feels like, okay, so this movie is just going to be that, but from one family's perspective, one group of people's perspective.
Oh, it sounds like they're assuming it's going to get particularly crazy. This frightening survival scenario sounds like they're...
I think... have you ever seen anyone when there's any sort of... when there's a holiday and the shops are going to be shut for an extra day over the weekend, and
I'm not saying it's not believable. I'm saying they are making some predictions, and they're basically assuming what's going to happen and making a movie out of it before it's even happened.
Yeah, I don't blame them though. It's what I assume is going to happen.
But I'm fairly certain that the movie will be more exaggerated than whatever it does. No matter what actually happens, which might be extreme, I feel that the movie's still going to be exaggerated.
I kind of hope it's not. I mean, I don't mean that.
That sounds awful. What bad things do you want to happen?
I don't want the bad things to happen. I just want the movie to be like, ha, we underestimated that.
Next up, Angus McFadden, who played Robert the Bruce in Braveheart, is going to play Robert the Bruce again in a movie called Robert the Bruce. Australian director Richard Gray is involved in the directing. McFadden wrote the script with Eric Balgo, or Baljow maybe, and it continues where Braveheart left off. So this is
a sequel?
This is basically an unofficial sequel to Braveheart, with the actor who played Robert the Bruce like, yeah, let's do this. Let's do it.
For all intents and purposes, this is a sequel.
Yeah, freedom. All that nonsense.
Yeah, well.
Kill English people. I like that part of the movie.
I bet you do.
So yeah, there's a big list of names that are joining them. The main one that jumps out to my mind though is Jared Harris, who do like, of course, from Fringe, Mad Men, bunch of movies, all over the place. Robert the Bruce follows widow Moira. Actually, that's a notable name actually as well. Actually, where is it? Anna Hutchison, who I know from Cabin in the Woods.
Okay, I'm gonna say I definitely know the name, but I couldn't.
Yeah, she was the blonde in Cabin in the Woods.
I see. I knew she was a blonde, but I couldn't have told you anything else about.
So who made Cabin in the Woods again?
Yeah, all right. And to tie back to earlier, that was shelved for a while, and I admit that was better than the shelving would suggest.
I was actually going to subvert your expectations. I was going to say Drew Goddard, but you just didn't even.
I'm not taking the bait.
You just
I'm
gave
not
in
taking
and
the
said,
bait.
"Nah, it's fine."
Look, you do this every video, so there's no point in me going along with the charade. I'm just like, yeah, whatever, go on, get out of the way.
But it was written by Joss Whedon, who also did the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, for the record. So Anne Hutchinson plays Moira, this widow, and she has a child. She also has a niece. She also has a nephew. So she's got 3 kids with her, and they save the King of Scotland, Robert the Bruce. Also, I sounded way more Scottish when I said Robert the Bruce that time.
You did. It was like some national pride came through when you mentioned his name.
I have zero national pride. I don't give a shit.
I know you don't, but that's what it sounded like when you said it.
I think it's because it came after the phrase King of Scotland. I just naturally went pure Scottish after I said that.
You just kind of slip into it a bit. It was like, yeah, we had a king.
I mean, I don't know how to feel about this. Sure, like
it's strange, isn't it?
But I mean, I like Braveheart. Braveheart's a good movie, but like, you know, Braveheart 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Whose idea was this?
I don't know. And if it's picking up where Braveheart left off, because this is the thing. Like, if they wanted to be more historically accurate, then they wouldn't do that. But they're saying no, it picks up where Braveheart leaves off. So, like, what? Like at the battle at the end of Braveheart. Like, does Robert the Bruce get captured? Like, they win the battle, but, you know, Robert gets captured, maybe. And then, like, this widow and the kids end up, like, saving his life or something.
No idea. This is...
I don't know what the story's like. Because, okay, Braveheart takes a lot of liberties with things, but there's the general idea of Scotland winning their freedoms kind of the core of the plot, right?
Filthy bastards.
Shut up. Right, so that's kind of the what we function the plot around, right? Even though there's a lot of elements that aren't actually that, you know, realistic or that ever happen.
Hey, it's a movie. You can take liberties. Yeah. It's fine.
But I'm not sure what, like, unless they say that battle at the end of Braveheart doesn't win the freedom, so the movie's then again just still about, you know, Robert the Bruce inspiring.
Then you watch this movie and go, then why do I bother with Braveheart?
Because it was probably better. I'll make that guess right now.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
I'll make that guess, but yeah, it's just kind of funny. But then again,
between this and some of the things we had on the TV news, I am baffled by the news this week.
I know, it's just weird. Some of the things that are coming back. That said, McFadden's obviously 20 years older, so maybe...
That's a good point, yeah.
They're saying it takes off where it left off. Maybe they don't mean literally after the battle. Maybe they mean, okay, so... This is what
time passed. They got their freedom, but this is where we are now.
Yeah, and he ends up encountering this family after he's nearly died, and we go from there. Like I don't know what this movie is.
Can you imagine if they pretend though it's directly after?
He's just that much older.
It's just like it's fine. The battle really aged him.
Yeah. That sword that really made my face go old. I'm all wrinkly now. Oh
man, that cracked me up.
Bleed with me!
Why does this exist?
Bolts of lightning from his arse. See if they get Mel Gibson back and the ghost of William Wallace like resurrects, and we get like the mystical version of Braveheart, the legend where he's actually shooting bolts of lightning from his arse. Like, that would be something.
If they get Mel Gibson back, like that's gonna happen. That said, this exists, so maybe it will happen. What do I know?
What else is he doing with his time?
Hacksaw Ridge was pretty good. Actually, that was bloody fantastic.
Yeah. For all his faults, he's very talented as a filmmaker.
Yeah, I'm not defending the man, but great movies.
So anyway, moving on. To move on, even though I'm sure people are thrilled at me talking about a Braveheart sequel, it's just for reasons.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
In things I wasn't expecting this week, a Braveheart sequel.
Braveheart 2, Braveheart Harder.
Oh God.
Braveheart Attack. That's what she calls it. I like the idea that some people who have not seen Braveheart think it's about a superhero called Braveheart.
Does anyone think that? Would anyone think that?
And William Wallace is like the secret identity. And he rips off his kilt and he's Braveheart.
Oh man, that'd be glorious. I want that movie now. Can this just be that instead?
Anyway, let's move on. So Elizabeth Moss, we like her. She's joined the cast of the Braveheart Paradox. I'm kidding.
Oh, if only.
It's going to be like Cloverfield. There's going to be Braveheart sequels popping up all over the place.
Oh God, I can only imagine. Oh, what could they do with the Braveheart universe?
Clearly, the monster movie will be Loch Ness, right? Like that's the.
Oh, obviously, you've got the alternate history version where they lose.
Oh yeah. That awful timeline. Don't want to be part of that.
I think this is the most the English-Scottish argument that has come out in a while.
We're talking about a movie where Scotland beats England and kills them all brutally. It's fantastic.
It's awful. it's a cinematic tragedy.
An Australian leads us to victory. So
what's Elizabeth Moss actually in?
She is set to star in a movie called A Letter from Rosemary Kennedy. It is a little known but haunting story of the eldest sister of President John F. Kennedy, who spent a lifetime. That's meant to say hidden. It just says hide. A lifetime hide from public view because of the political ambitions of her father.
Hiding.
That was a good point. Let's look at 1D.
They just completely screwed it up.
They did. Yeah.
They didn't miss a letter. They just did the wrong word.
Anyway, because of her father's political ambitions, she was kind of held in secret. It's another Blacklist spec script from last year. So A Letter from Rosemary Kennedy turns on the first daughter of... Turns on? That's weird phrasing.
Turns in, maybe? Wait, what's the rest of the sentence?
A letter turns on the first daughter of Joseph Kennedy Sr. and Rose Fitzgerald, who was blessed with the Kennedy family beauty, but from, it just keeps going. But
I don't even know what that was supposed to be.
I don't know. It's saying she's turned on.
Where the hell did you get this from?
I think this was Deadline. This is shoddy work, this.
This is awful.
Again, it's a press release maybe, so maybe it's the original writer's fault. But she had learning difficulties and developmental challenges. So the Kennedys decided to keep her hidden so that she wouldn't harm their chances of success. A vibrant, beautiful young woman caught smiling in photos with JFK, whom she doted on. She was, however, a large embarrassment to Joseph Kennedy Jr., who... Did JFK have a brother named Joseph as well, who was junior?
I don't think so.
So is this another mistake? Because it said senior earlier on.
Because they said senior before.
Yeah.
And he's the junior, JFK, right? The one that we're familiar with as JFK is junior, I assume.
Oh, because he's John. John's not short for Joseph. Unless you're going to drop this bombshell on me that it's like Dick and Richard, that makes no sense.
It's not, but I'm sure he goes by both. I'm sure JFK is one of those weird ones where he went by two. I'm sure it was.
Okay, all right. So they're playing him as a villain as well. Then okay, just so
I don't actually know what this is. I'm a bit confused. But I think this is the poor wording.
Yeah, she's a large embarrassment to Joseph Kennedy Jr., who is priming his children to be great statesmen. See, I think that's senior. I feel like that's senior.
I feel like that's senior as well.
That's a mistake. I think that's senior, because it's saying he's preparing his kids to be great statesmen and stateswomen. As a result, she was hidden from public view and ultimately institutionalized by her father, suffering a botched lobotomy. I had no idea this was a thing. I didn't know this was the story. The film is based on personal letters illustrating her wish to connect with her family and how her story became a catalyst for change and left behind a legacy for generation to follow. Not generations, generation to follow. This was a shoddy description.
What is going on here? I'm just looking up JFK's family just so I can.
Oh, just to clarify some of this. Okay.
Yes. So there's a Joseph Kennedy Sr. obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Wife was Rose Fitzgerald. So there's a Joseph Jr., John, Rosemary, Kathleen, Eunice, Patricia, Robert, Jean, and Ted.
So there's a Joseph Jr. and a John?
There is, yes.
Right then, okay, so maybe there is a Jr. But then again, it said it was preparing these kids to be statesmen.
Yeah, this is a mess. I don't like this.
It's a horrible description. I will say, it does sound like a more of an interesting story than I would have thought if you just told me, oh, it's based on Kennedy's sister. And I'm like, oh, this is actually like a really dark story. Like, I really... It's a dark side to that family that I didn't know about. So I'm kind of, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Alright, shall we move on?
I think what I'm thinking of, it wasn't John and Joseph, it's John and Jack, isn't it, that he's referred to?
Yes.
That's what I was thinking of the two. And then the description there had me confused with everything. I'm trying to piece it together.
Paramount is developing a movie based on a book by David Arnold. It's a young adult novel, which is not even out yet. It's coming out soon. It's called The Strange Fascinations of Noah Hypnotic. And yeah, so they've got the movie rights. It's coming out in May. And obviously, it's going through their new subdivision called Paramount Players. That's one. I think that's kind of their like, you know, Fox Searchlight equivalent now, essentially.
Okay, we haven't spoken about that yet, have we?
Paramount Players? I don't think so, but I saw it pop up like twice this week, so it's definitely more of a thing now. So it is a surrealist story about all the ways we hurt our friends without knowing it, and all the ways they stick around to save us. The protagonist is a 16-year-old who says, no matter how organised I get, my room, my records, my books, no matter how precisely I communicate a thing, or how many arrows point to how many objects, in the end I'm floating through space in a most peculiar way.
I'm kind of intrigued.
I'm intrigued because that's such a batshit way of describing a story.
That is not something... You said this was a young adult one, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard any young adult thing described as surrealist before.
That said, it could just be really hipstery dialogue the whole time.
It could, but...
Try to sound pretentious. But if it pulls off the sort of tone that little paragraph did, I mean...
Benefit of the doubt, I guess, because we don't know anything about this right now. Other than, you know, like, the book's not even out yet, so no one can tell. But... yeah, okay.
No, that's fair. Alright, next up, Paramount Players and Imagine Entertainment have launched development of a biopic on musician Gucci Mane, based on his autobiography, the autobiography of Gucci Mane. He did not put a lot of thought into that title. That is...
he didn't, did he?
No, that is a little bit too on the nose for my liking. Mane is a pioneer of the hip-hop genre known as trap music. He made his studio album debut in 2005 with Trap House. Are you familiar with this guy?
No, I'm familiar with trap as a genre.
Okay. Yeah, so the book tells of his childhood and poverty in Alabama and his move to Atlanta, where he became involved in criminal activity. He spent nearly 3 years in prison starting in 2004 after pleading guilty to possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. While incarcerated, he began releasing mixtapes from prison with rappers Migos and Young Thug. Or Mijos, however you pronounce it.
I think you might have been right the first time.
Migos, okay. Mane appeared on screen in the 2012 drama Birds of a Feather and in Harmony Korine's 2013 film Spring Breakers. So he's popped up in movies before. So I don't know if that means he's going to play himself or here or whatever. But
I assume not, because this is about his younger life. Yeah. I think the only way he'll be in it is if it's him, you know, like a framing device.
Yeah, maybe he'll play his father. That's a thing you can do, right?
He could do that, or it'll be him telling the story sort of thing, and we'll have him narrating over it, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know who the guy is. I don't really like biopics, so I don't really have much of a...
I'm really hit or miss on biopics. Some of them I love, some of them I think are very bad, and just... not because of anything technical, but just because of in the script, that the idea of it just doesn't function as a 2-hour movie. Alright,
we shall move on. A couple of updates and things that we kind of talked about. Well, this first one... yeah, we actually did talk about this one at some point, because we mentioned that Matt Smith was in line to play Charles Manson in a movie from the American Psycho director Mary Harron. We now know that film's called Charlie Says. It is official that he's now going to play Charles Manson in it. Some other cast as well. Suki Waterhouse has been cast as Mary Brunner, an early Manson follower. We also have Odessa Young in the cast, Hannah Murray, Marianne Rendon, Carla Gugino. Odessa Young name stuck out to me because she was in that Assassination Nation, which we got a trailer for like a week or two
I
ago.
recall, yeah.
Yeah. So she's starting to pop up in things. Charlie says we'll focus on the three young women, Murray, Young, and Rendon, who were sentenced to death following the 1969 murders that were ordered by Manson. After California abolished the death penalty, their sentences were commuted to life in prison. The film will follow their transformations as they face the reality of their crimes. So I'm thinking set in the prison, but there'll be flashbacks to like Manson,
Probably, yeah.
corrupting them. And
I think Charlie Says is a great title, though.
yeah, it is one of 3 Charles Manson films in production.
3?
Yeah, we got the Tarantino movie, 1969.
This one.
This one, and wait until we get to the horror section because of the third one.
Oh, okay. Oh, a horror movie about it. That sounds fun.
All right, next up, update. Remember Motherless Brooklyn? We mentioned this last week. William Dafoe is in it.
Oh, yes.
Bruce Willis has joined the cast, as has Alec Baldwin, as has Gugu Mbatha-Raw, whose name has been popping up so much. She was in the TV news last week. She was in the movie news last week. She was in Cloverfield Paradox this week.
It's funny. A week ago, you had no idea who this was.
Well, as soon as you said Sandra Napero, I'm like, okay, I know who that is. But
yeah. But a week ago, you saw the name and was like, who?
Yeah, and now she's in everything. She's in that movie on Netflix that's coming out. The cancer one where she's dying of cancer, but it's kind of charming. Like she's in that. And my cat is causing chaos.
I'm pretty sure she was in Beauty and the Beast, the one from last year. I feel like she was one of the things, like the household objects that are in the. I can't remember which one she was, but I'm sure
were they actually objects in that? Were they?
They were CG.
CG, okay.
But it was mocap and stuff, I think.
All right, okay. How do you mocap a candle? No, I mean.
The candle he's kind of got arms. He's a candlestick.
Oh, with the clock. You're just a solid clock.
Okay. Those ones might not have been mocapped. But
all right. So yeah, Michael K. Williams in the cast. That was already announced. So yeah, quite a cast building for this. Willem Dafoe, Bruce Willis, Mbatha-Raw, Alec Baldwin. A whole bunch of them.
A lot of big names.
Yeah. Just to remind you, it's based on a novel, Jonathan Letham's novel, set in the 1950s, New York, follows Lionel Ezrog, played by Edward Norton. So he was already announced as well. That was like, I remember last week it was like, Willem Dafoe joins Edward Norton movie. Yes. He's a lonely private detective afflicted with Tourette's syndrome as he ventures to solve a murder of his mentor and his only friend, Frank Minna, played by Willis. Armed with only a few clues and the powerful engine of his obsessive mind, Lionel unravels closely guarded secrets that hold the fate of the whole city in the balance. So there's a couple of updates there at the end of just some extra cast and stuff that have been added to things.
Yeah.
And movies around a bit. So that takes us on to the horror section. We're on the horror chunk now. And speaking of Willem Dafoe, I'm hitting it with the segues tonight. I really am. He's got a project that he's working with. Now, this technically says thriller, but it's from Robert Eggers, who directed The Witch.
One of those, is it?
I'm making the call that this is probably actually a horror movie, and they're just wording it a little bit.
I honestly think about half of the things Hollywood calls thrillers are just horror movies.
This has come from A24, which is a big deal because they seem to put out good movies. It's called The Lighthouse. Obviously, Robert Eggers is currently working on a Nosferatu movie, which I am so happy he's working on a Nosferatu movie after The Witch. That is fantastic news. But he's going to do this movie called The Lighthouse, and Willem Dafoe is in talks to star in said movie, to The Lighthouse. So he will play the role of Old, that's the name, Old, an aging lighthouse keeper. Set at the start of the 20th century, the film is about a lighthouse keepers in Maine. And the film will be shot in Nova Scotia. So not a lot in the plot necessarily. I just said it's a thriller, and
slash horror
because I'm making that assumption. But based on the director alone, and then Willem Dafoe's a great actor, so you put them together.
Yeah, I'm down. I mean, I'd say that having not seen The Witch yet, because I keep putting it off, because I keep going, I'll save it for October when it's time for horror movies. And then it gets to October and I'm swamped with TV and don't watch any horror movies.
Just need to make another horror month for yourself.
I probably should. Maybe April? There's nothing in April, is there?
I don't know. Pick April. Although we get a lot of TV in April, though. I should probably point that out.
Yeah, not April.
Probably more like July. By the time all that TV that starts in April finishes in June. July is a nice summer horror month for you.
Yeah, that'll do nicely.
All right, so here we go. Manson movie. Hilary Duff has been cast as actress Sharon Tate in The Haunting of Sharon Tate. Now, do you know who Sharon Tate is from just like
Yes,
history? Yeah. Do you know who she was married to?
Polanski, right?
Roman Polanski, which is a weird coincidence that this is all connected, given that Tarantino's making a Manson movie, and given what he was in the news for this week. Whole tangled web of things. But so Haunting of Sharon Tate. This is the third project based on the Manson murders to some extent. Tate was married to filmmaker Roman Polanski when she was brutally stabbed to death in August 1969 at the behest of cult leader Charles Manson. Tate's unborn son was also murdered. The 26-year-old actress was due to give birth in 2 weeks. She yelled out at the time, "Please don't kill me, I just want to have my baby," before being horrifically tortured and then slaughtered, stabbed 16 times. The killers used her blood to write the word pig on the outside door of her house in the Hollywood Hills. Which, dark as shit. Like, we're not cracking jokes through that description because that all happened.
Yeah, I'm staying silent. Again, Les, if you don't not familiar with the story, the You Must Remember This podcast did a great series on it all. Well worth listening to.
The film was written and directed by Daniel Ferrans. It takes a look at the last days leading up to Tate's murder from her point of view. The plot is inspired by an actual quote from Tate from an interview published a year before her death, wherein she reveals having dreams about ghosts haunting her house and foreseeing her own death at the hands of a satanic cult.
I mean, she wasn't too far off.
Yeah, which is creepy as shit.
Not satanic, but definitely a cult.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a thing that's and interesting enough. This director also just wrote and directed an Amityville prequel called Amityville Murders, and that's just completed post production. So that's looking for distributors right now. So he's like obviously Skyline Entertainment seems to like this guy.
You'll probably see that in October then.
Probably. Do you know what? This sounds kind of interesting. Like, it sounds proper creepy. It sounds like something that could have a lot of potential. At the same time, I do have to almost wonder though about making a horror movie specifically about this, and actually wanting it to be scary. Like,
is it poor taste?
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling like, do I want to watch this, get to the end, and she's like, I mean, I'm sure they'll cut away from the stabbing because like we don't want to
The thing is, the actual events themselves are so horrific that you can make a horror movie about that as it is.
Yeah, but this is the weird thing though. In a horror movie about something that a writer's made up, I want it to be as brutal as possible. I want to see the stabbings. In this, I will feel uncomfortable if they just show it.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it?
They stabbed her in her pregnant stomach and then wrote words in the wall with her blood. Like, this is dark as shit. And I do like I think that the way it's handled, the tact, I feel like that'll be a big defining factor in whether or not this is either really poor taste or like an actual.
That's it. Part of me thinks this is poor taste. I don't want this.
Yeah.
But then there's a level of me that goes, this could be an amazing film.
It's a deeply interesting story. I just don't know if exploiting it for the sake of thrills, per se.
Yeah, it feels like it should be something that's documented and treated seriously, but doing things around it to just heighten the horror does feel a bit... okay.
Especially where they go with this whole she believes she was being haunted and like seeing visions of her death. Like, they could go way over the top with that and it'll just feel farcical. It's like, you're really using this woman's death to like...
Yeah, it felt like they're cashing in on her death.
Yeah. So hey, I don't know what it is, but I know that we're getting close to the anniversary next year, which is when all these movies are probably going to come out. But like, for some reason, it's in all the rage.
Wow, it'll be the 50th where they'll go, right. Yeah. Okay, this is the year that people are going to talk about it, if ever.
Yeah. So there's a thing. So yeah. This is a whole big thing. Alright, so let's move on. So here's the thing. Last October, there was buzz that an Unfriended sequel had secretly been filmed, called Unfriended Game Night. And there was even news from Bloody Disgusting at the time that they'd confirmed that a secret early screening had taken place.
Okay, and then nothing happened.
Nothing since. It's not been that long, really. But
I mean, sure.
Yeah.
But, 6 months, right? 5?
October.
Well, I mean, it depends when in October.
4.
5 if it's early October.
It's early February.
Oh shit, you're right, it is. I don't know what day it is.
What? What? I'm like, he keeps it, if it's early, I'm like, but no, if it's late October, it's closer to 3.
Yeah. I was just going, we're in February. That counts as a whole month. It doesn't, obviously, but...
Ah, jeez. Sometimes you sit and argue with me on stupid things, and I love it when you're wrong, but...
I'll give you that one.
So that happened, and it's like, okay, so where is it? What's happening? Well, the Midnighters lineup for this year's South by Southwest Festival went up, and that's just like, you know, all the horror movies that go. Yeah. And there's an untitled Blumhouse film in there, right? Untitled Blumhouse film, and it's written and directed by Steven Sisko. The plot sounds like what they kind of heard about last year, right? For Unfriended game night, and then to top it all off, the little promo image they put out with it. Apparently, the file name for it is Unfriended game night. So if they were trying to hide it, they didn't do a very good job. So
I hope this is all just smoke and mirrors, and it's just something completely different. And they're like, you thought it was that.
So here's the synopsis for this mystery movie that they're putting out at South by Southwest. A 20-something finds a cache of hidden files on his new laptop and is thrust into the deep waters of the dark web. From the makers of Unfriended, again, you feel like you're tipping your hand here, this thriller unravels in real time entirely on a computer screen. A warning for the digital age.
I mean, I get why you have to tell me it's entirely on a computer screen, but if you're trying to hide that it's Unfriended, don't tell me that.
I know, it's weird. So, here's the thing. Unfriended ended up actually being surprisingly good.
I think that was a great movie. Shockingly, yeah.
The final 10 seconds aside, which is just a crappy little jump scare at the end of a horror movie, is actually a really smart little movie that does a lot of really interesting things, and it uses what we know and how we use computers to like build a little bit of suspense, does some interesting things, it reveals character motivations as it goes.
Yeah.
I thought it was really solid. It's
creative and unique.
I never wanted another one. I feel like, nah, we don't need any more of these. But admittedly, when I said I didn't want any more, I did say sequels as well. A sequel does not bother me, though, as much as a knockoff. I was worried that there was going to be lots of knockoffs, like trying to do the same thing, and you know, kind of like how found footage became a thing. That we were going to get lots of these computer screen movies, and
I agree. And here's the other thing I'll say in its defense. When we said that, I was worried they'd just be happening immediately, but it's been a couple of years.
Yeah, it's been 4 years.
It's been that long, shit. I didn't even quite that much, but it's been appropriate length. Okay, you want to do a sequel.
And it does sound different. Like, you find something, like, it's not a revenge story, like some girl who died, like, starts messing with them on the internet. Like, it sounds like there's a different plot.
It's taking the gimmick and then doing something completely different with it.
Yeah, and game night kind of implies he'll be on Skype with people again, and it'll be like, they'll I don't know, either playing video games, or maybe they're doing something else.
I mean, it's that, or it's, game night. There's a big game on, like, on the... In general, so that'll be what the events revolve around.
I was taking it more as like, when people get together for a game night because they play board games together.
I agree, yeah.
But yeah, it could be that, yeah. But yeah, who knows why they're being so secretive about it right now?
It feels weird for them to be secretive about it. Like, just look, it's Unfriended. It's fine. You did a good movie. It did reasonably well. Just tell us.
Next up, Lionsgate has acquired the rights to a Russian horror film called The Bride. That happened back in October, but we're going to get a remake of it, and we got some writers from The Conjuring and Conjuring 2 attached to produce, so here's what we've learned. We got Sarah Conrad has been hired to write the English language remake, centered on a turn-of-the-century bride who returns from the dead. The bride, Natsia, is a young woman who travels with her her soon-to-be husband to his family's home. Upon their arrival, she can't help but think that the visit may have been a horrible mistake. She is surrounded by strange people and starts to witness strange, terrible visions of his family as his family prepares her for a mysterious and traditional Slavic wedding ceremony. More than the wedding preparations, can she survive the next few days? That sounds okay. I'm getting a little bit of Rebecca, a little bit of those types of movies from the old days. Are they secretly just trying sacrificing her? Is it all just some sort of big ceremony to kill her for a god or something? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it could be okay. I again though, I feel like I could just watch the original, as is often the case with these.
And then finally on the news this week, the last horror story, German filmmaker Fritz Bohm, his horror film Wilding has been picked up by IFC Midnight for distribution in North America. The film follows Anna, a woman who spent her entire childhood locked in the attic, under the care of a mysterious man she only knows as Daddy, played by Brad Dourif. Anna is scared to death of a creature she calls the Wilding, a child-eating monster that roams outside. After a small-town sheriff, Ellen Cooper, played by Liv Tyler, so there are a couple of decent cast names there, frees Anna and helps her start a new life. Her childhood nightmares of the Wilding return, disrupting the possibility of a normal life. And it's going to be released on VOD in April. So,
Yeah, okay. Doesn't sound too bad.
there's a couple of interesting ideas in there, and
Reasonable cast, which helps in interest levels, I guess.
yeah, I mean, it stops you from writing it off as just some little stupid
It doesn't.
movie.
Of course, it doesn't guarantee it'll be good, but
Oh, of course.
it helps.
Of course not, yeah. But there you go, that's the news this week. That's everything.
Oh, cool. We made it. We nailed it.
We did. Which leads us to talking about what we watched this week. Not stuff for reviews, of course, just stuff we watched anyway. I have 3.
I've got 4.
Alright, you start then, and we alternate.
Okay. I guess just go through them in order that we watched them.
Knock yourself out.
So what I started with this week is one I did mention. I watched The Hitman's Bodyguard, which was Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson. It's it's a little action comedy. It's Reynolds is Samuel L. Jackson's he's this hitman, and he gets taken into protective custody essentially, and Reynolds has to escort him to the courtroom where it is going to be. And it's fun. It's enjoyable enough. It's definitely a bit overlong. It's 2 hours, and it probably shouldn't have been more than 90 minutes. But the action's solid, and it's not a bad watch. In a light Sunday afternoon sort of thing.
Yeah, okay.
Not a must see.
Alright, first movie I watched this week was Colossal, which you talked about a week or two ago. So this is Anne Hathaway, and she's got a drinking problem, and she discovers that she controls, or a kaiju in Korea is mimicking her movements, that she is controlling this kaiju. It's a movie that starts off with an interesting premise and then goes into some probably ideas in the second half I didn't necessarily expect it to go down. There was some elements to the control of the kaiju that I wasn't expecting. It was a bit more limited than I thought it was going to be. The message wasn't on the nose at times. That is very true. And it got surprisingly dark at one point, like surprisingly so. But it was very good. I actually quite liked it quite a bit. I thought it had a good, strong message. It didn't always go for the easy route either. Like sometimes it would make a message that was a bit more poignant, maybe not quite as happy as you were hoping it would be. But Anne Hathaway was very good in it, and yeah.
Yeah, like I mentioned, there's a point where it tries to go deeper with its messaging, and it gets a little murky in what it's doing at times for that. Even though, as on the nose as it is, it kind of tries to do more, and that's where it fails a little bit for me, when it tries to go above and beyond. Doesn't quite hit that. But it's still pretty good.
No, I liked it quite a bit. So, no, what else did you watch?
The next one I watched, ticking off the list of Oscar movies, I watched Get Out because I missed that this time last year for whatever reason. And yeah, it's fantastic. I don't think that's any surprise in me saying that, because there's a reason everyone loves it. And I will say, as of right now, out of the 5 of the 9 movies I've seen for the Oscars, that's probably my favourite out of the ones that are nominated.
I thought they think
I don't want to say too much about it, because there was a point I was watching this with my girlfriend, which was shocking because she hates horror movies, so I had to talk her into it. It was a fun experience, but there was a point where I realised where it was going and what the twist was. We had a lot of fun going, oh yeah, that's what's going on, and that stuff.
No, I get it was great, of course. I think what I like about it the most is it's a very unique perspective on something that I don't think anyone else could do.
No, I agree. It was, like I said, I think that the first 20, 30 minutes are good, and then it gets to the dinner party. I guess that's the phrase, the gathering, and that's where it really takes off and goes, okay, this is unique.
Yeah, it starts to go down that path. No, Get Out was fantastic.
Yeah.
Next thing I watched. Oh yeah, I was trying to remember the order because we said we go in order.
This is why I just looked at my letterbox.
No, the next thing I watched was a ghost story, which is a film starring Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara, and it's a film where they're a couple. He dies, and then he sticks around as a ghost, but he wears a giant white sheet with 2 holes cut out. You know, it's the classic, simple...
Like a kid's ghost costume.
Yeah, a kid's ghost costume. It is a super art house movie. It is very quiet. There's a lot of just him standing there watching his wife in the house, and then time passes. It's very much what...
Can other people see him?
No one can see him.
Okay.
And it's very much... it's kind of what the title says. It's kind of like, okay, so what is the life of a ghost afterwards? It's a very poignant film. It's very quiet, very lot of little dramatic moments. It goes in places where I don't know if I was expecting it to, and it's definitely one of those things where it's got this little poignant thing to point to make at the end. Also, it's got something that's kind of like lost in translation, where there's something that you don't get to know, and it's one of those things where people will be forever theorizing. Because, you know, lost in translation, everyone else says, oh, what did they whisper in her ear? Like, it's got one of those things. But this was an extraordinarily well-directed movie. It's in 4:3 as well, which is a unique choice.
For today, that's unique, of
Not
course.
only is it in 4:3, it's got curved corners.
Huh.
So you start watching, like, okay, right, this director's up himself. He's art house to the max.
Yeah.
But then everything is handled so well. It's got such good... like pacing and tone. There's some long shots where you're just waiting for the thing to happen. You're just waiting, and it has you on the edge of your seat, but in a really sort of simple and like quiet way.
I think I'll check it out. I have a question though. Obviously, this is on the aspect ratio, of course. Whenever a director chooses an out there aspect ratio for whatever they're doing, there's always a good reason. Is there an obvious reason as to what it is once you watch the movie?
I don't know if I'd say it's obvious, but if you stop and if you think about it,
if you think about it for a couple of minutes,
yeah.
Okay, this is why it's that.
If you think about it, you think about the feel that it gives the movie and the way it gives it this old timey window, as if you're watching. Yeah, it's there. If you think about it, you can kind of see where the decision was made.
I guess I was asking, was there a reason for it? Like, you can tell, there's a reason it's in this, rather than just, hey, this is different.
Yeah, no, that is there. You can definitely read into why the aspect ratio was chosen.
I'll add that to my list of things to check out.
But that was fantastic. I loved it. I give it glowing praise, highest recommendations.
Good stuff.
But if you hate art house movies, you'll hate it with a passion. You'll complain that nothing happened if you're that type of person.
That's fine. I like art house.
It's okay.
I mean, the next thing I watched is the furthest you can get from art house. Admittedly, this is sometimes you just want a movie on in the background. You just want something on, almost background noise. But hey, I'll tick it off the list. This was Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Men Tell No Tales.
Okay, mate, that's quick, snappy.
Yes, yeah. It's not bad. It's fine. It's mid tier for the franchise, which with 1 being the high point and 4 being the lowest, it's probably somewhere in between 2 and 3 in my rankings. So if you hate the franchise with a passion like Peter does, don't bother. Obviously, if you like the first 3 well enough, then you'll probably get some enjoyment out of this. It does get a bit third acty, but very CG heavy at the end of big things happening for kind of no good reason. It's still enjoyable. I will say there's a bit that I remember hearing about in the news where they CG'd a young Johnny Depp. It just looks wrong. Like, just no.
All right, okay. I do not give a shit. I forgot there was a Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
So did I, and then I was just browsing. I was like, oh, I'll throw that on. That'll do for 2 hours. And then there's nice music.
My third movie that I watched just earlier today, in fact, was a Netflix film called I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore, which stars Melanie Linsky and Elijah Wood. And it's basically a movie about... She's kind of this down on her luck, just kind of normal person. She works as a nurse, and she's just kind of... She's sick of everyone treating her like shit and stomping all over her. Like, everything seems to go wrong. People cut in front of her at the supermarket. People, don't just aren't nice to her. Some asshole who you think is almost chatting her up at the bar then spoils the book she's reading because he's read it already. And everything just keeps going wrong. And then someone breaks into her house and steals like her laptop, some silverware that her grandmother gave her, and a few other things. And she's had enough, and the police don't seem to be doing anything, so she starts investigating things herself. And she ends up teaming up with Elijah Wood, who's this wacky neighbour down the street, who is ridiculously over the top and has nunchucks. It's a movie that...
You just sold me on it.
It's a movie that starts off... Jane Levi's in it as well, by the way, and I like her a lot. But it's a movie that starts off being pretty good. It's decent, it's got some funny moments, there's things to enjoy. And then I think it gets stronger as it goes, as it gets more absurd, and they get into more dangerous situations. And the final act is actually violent as shit. There's a lot of violence at the end, but it's definitely sort of a black comedy with a bit of an emotional core. But it's definitely, there's some real funny stuff. They really have these villains that did break into her house that the paint is being quite menacing, and you're kind of worried that when she finally gets to them, if she actually does get to them, that she's going to be completely screwed because she can't handle that. But no, it's got a bit of quirkiness to it. Takes a little bit to really get going, but it's I'd recommend it. It's a Netflix movie, it's a Netflix original, so it's been there since last February, so it's a year old at this point.
I'll add that to my list of 2017 Netflix movies to watch. I think that's like the 4th or 5th one that I've got to check out. Okja, Babysitter, What Happened to Monday, Gerald's Game, this now, I guess. Although not necessarily in that order.
Yeah, the only one you listed that I've not seen yet is What Happened to Monday, so I might try and fit that in at some point. Yeah. But yeah, so that's what I watched this week.
Okay, cool. My last one, I was watching the curling because the Winter Olympics is on, and I'm a big curling fan for some reason. And I had about 2 hours to kill between a couple of matches, and I thought, I'll stick on Happy Death Day. That got a lot of praise.
I need to kill time until the curling is back on. That is the most depressing thing I've ever heard in my life. All right, continue.
Hey, curling is great, and you should shut up. But Happy Death Day. I'd heard a lot of good things. I think it's pretty good. It's fun. I do think it's been overhyped for me because I was expecting better from what I'd been told. It plays its premise well enough, and it does subvert the ending a little bit for a moment. It does fall into the trap of playing.
What is the premise of Happy Death Day, Connor, for people who have no idea what it is?
I'm getting to that. I was just going to say that
it's subverted the ending a bit. All right, fine, but I don't even know what the premise is yet. I mean, I do.
Well,
I've seen it, but...
I'm getting into that. I'm saying why it's good or bad first, and then what it is.
All right.
My thoughts are more important than what the movie is. The ending itself, I didn't like that it played the really obvious joke of what it was. I knew it was going to do it. I was waiting for it from about 20 minutes into the movie.
No, I disagree. I think that ended joke is essential. It had to do that.
I hate it. I hated it with a passion.
No, loved it.
Worst part of the movie. But so Happy Death Day is about a girl who it's her birthday, and she dies, and then she wakes up again.
Oh, she is killed. There's a difference.
All right, fine. She's killed. It's a small difference.
She's killed. It's Groundhog Day, but it's a killer killing the person every day, and she's trying to figure out how to survive, and she's reliving the day over and over again. There you go. There's the premise.
I was getting to that. You just cut me off and did the whole thing yourself.
Because you were taking ages. You were waffling about. I got to the crux of the matter.
Dick.
And
anyway, it's a solid 7 out of 10. Nothing more.
I'd go a point higher. I'd give it 8 out of 10. I was pleasantly surprised by this. I thought it had a really good, strong character arc. I liked the girl a lot, and she was like hateful at the start, but she actually grows over the movie. It works really well. There's some fun stuff. I like the ending. I liked the surprising amount of heart that I thought it had by the time it got to the end. and some fun, good comedy as well, when she's sort of like playing with the fact that she's, you know, resetting and she knows what's going to happen.
Once she's aware of that, that's when it's best for me. There is a scene where it's supposed to be emotional towards the end, and it's like a big moment for her that just kind of fell flat for me. With her father, that kind of just
sure, yeah. I mean, it doesn't really bother me. But yeah, the only thing I think holds it back a little bit is that it's PG-13, and I could be using the kills being a bit more violent. But other than that,
that would have you know, probably knocked it up a point for me.
But no, I liked it a lot. I came out of this being like, yeah, that was great. Scott Lobdell wrote a good movie. What the hell happened there?
No, it was a good movie. It's fun. It's worth watching. I do think I was slightly overhyped for it. I was expecting a great movie, but yeah, it's good. It's fun.
8 out of 10. Anyway, that is us. That is what we watched this week, outside of review purposes, of course. Which leaves me to tell you what came up this week and what came out last week and all that stuff. This might get confusing because obviously some stuff goes up early in Patreon, some stuff does not.
It's why I'm just looking at the YouTube page first, so you can see what we've done already.
That makes a fair bit of sense. What did we put out this week, Connor? For the public on the YouTubes.
I'm just trying. Okay, there's the last movie news. So on Screams, you did Mum and Dad. We've had both parts of our science fiction countdown, the best science fiction movies for Influx that me and you did. We have had you and Matt, of course, did the Cloverfield Paradox. You and Matt for Overload did The Big Sick. And on couple more Screams movies, you got Winchester, which was the new release, and you got Hatchet 3 working your way to the new one.
Yep. Coming up this week for the public folk, you'll be getting Lars and the Real Girl on 1.21 Influx. On Screams After Midnight for Valentine's Day, you'll be getting Valentine. And you should be getting sometime early in the week a bonus Gigawatts from me and Connor talking about the post. That's what's coming up. Patrons, Screams After Midnight is undecided. Well, it actually isn't, but it kind of is. TBA. Sometimes we don't actually always decide the next ones in advance, so sometimes when it says when I say what's coming up in Patreon, we might not actually know quite yet. And Influx is the same way, except for the fact that we can tell you that Influx is going to be a vault pick. We're picking something from the vault, and our patrons will know full well what that is. That is a list of...
I was going to say, you also might get another Gigawatts movie this week, if all goes to plan.
Oh, yes.
You clearly have no idea what I'm referring to.
No, I do. It's clicked. It took a second, but it clicked.
Yes.
But aye, so that is what is coming up movie review-wise. Obviously, all the TV stuff's there as well, so check out that. But that is us. That has been another movie news, and I don't know how long this ran, but... it was probably long. It was probably split in two for the audio. Yeah, it was at least 2 hours 20. It may even be a bit more than that. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching. Keep liking, subscribing, letting us know what you thought of the news in the comments. Get us on Twitter at mail_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel and the show, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv. There's a link in the description. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching and listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching movies, guys, and we'll see you next time.